Running out of hard disk space. I've been recording so much just rambling at the camera and other thoughts of all kinds that I just am running out of hard disk space. I guess I could just upload it, and then if there's people who say they're willing to host it, but they could always change their mind. You know, they could decide I'm a bad person. Like if I put it on the cloud, essentially, if I put it out on the net, if there's only one copy I'm trusting, that's bad. I could get kicked off that service, that business go out of business. They have no obligation to me. You know, I clicked the terms of service thing that said all sorts of crap I didn't even read, which really is not a valid contract if I didn't read it. I think that's the law, actually. So, but whatever. So I guess I could upload it to different places, and there's probably places, in fact there are places I think, that will copy it to other places, especially if I mark it as open source, I think, which maybe I should do. I mean, if I wrote a book, I'd be willing to mark it as open source, potentially, or Creative Commons or something, whatever. Just, you know, giving information away is something I'm in favor of. Giving my face away seems a little weird, like, because I guess there are Creative Commons licenses which say you can only reproduce it in whole, and you can't process it. And that's cool, and I could release this or all these videos as that. And that's tempting, actually. You can't take it back. It's non-revocable, so that's bad. So whatever I do, I have to be kind of careful. Also, if I release it all as Creative Commons, people will still probably be more inclined to cut it up and do things with it. But they can do that now. I mean, you can't really stop people very well from doing things. They could edit whatever they want. So what official rights there are, I guess there's a difference. I don't know that I want someone to package what I say and sell it. Then again, who gives a shit? You know, as long as it's accurate to my actual words. So do I mind if they... I don't know. Whatever. I'm up kind of early. It's great. It's a great time to get up. This is 5:30 a.m. I believe. On probably April... Oh, fuck. Is it April 1st now? Oh, maybe it'll be April Fool's Day jokes. I don't have one. That sucks. I should have the best ones. Anyway, I'm out here in the morning. The whippoorwills are going off, and soon other birds will join in as soon as there's first light. It's not that chilly. I mean, I'm outside on a porch, right? So I could be out walking around or in some social space as well. But getting up early has extra benefits. Like, I actually design culture, and we should design culture such that there's extra benefits for getting up early. Getting up early should be awesome. Because people don't do useful stuff at night anyway. Not really. But if they get up early, then they do something intentional. They do something meaningful, useful. I used to get up early and write. I would get up at 3 a.m. and write all the time, every day. I got in this habit with my ex-girlfriend. And it was a great habit to get into. She wrote a bunch of books. I wrote a bunch of whatever I write, you know. So her time was better spent. She had her special dog sitting right next to her on the couch, and she would just type her ass off really fast. It was very impressive. Anyway, I don't do that now, but you know, I think I'm very affected by other people and my habits, and I think one of the habits we can encourage in each other is to get up early. And the way we can encourage that is not by telling people to get up early, because that doesn't work. People don't like to be told what to do. I'll do it anyway, but I prefer not to. I would prefer to design cultures and systems that we all support, and so we kind of have positive peer pressure on ourselves to do things we would consider good in some way, right? And I think getting up early is a really good one of those. So you can actually have a positive social impact by offering things to people early in the morning that are not available other times of the day. Now, yoga is an obvious one. You get out and you stretch and move your body. Coffee is a good one. Internet here, because I don't have internet in a lot of places and stuff, or not all day. I don't have enough bandwidth to support very many people. So I've had 65 people here before. There's no way 65 people are going to be able to upload videos and do other things online that I would like some of them to do. So that's why I need more bandwidth. Probably why I need Starlink. Anyway, back to positive peer pressure. I guess it's important that we realize all the power all of us have over each other. And that you'll understand that if you think about how you respond when you run into someone or meet them or interact with them, is that you're usually fairly conscious of what that interaction means, what the other person's subtext is, what you feel, what you think, what you want out of something, what you remember from the past. All these things are going on potentially in your mind. And one of those things you could add to that mix would be, what impact do I have on this person? How am I affecting their universe? And I think that's really part of empathy. And going beyond just like understanding and feeling it, deciding, well, what can I do to create this person's better universe? And you know what? Obviously, your universe improves if you improve their universe, because you get to live in a universe with people who are happy with their universe. Positive functioning starts with you. And I'm talking to me. I mean, I'm looking at myself in this camera right now. It's like a mirror. I'm not expert at this at all, I do imperfectly at communication with people. And, that's how it is. And that's how it is, I think, for most of us. Even if we're normal and we do well, and I'm not normal and I don't always do well, it depends. I mean, every interaction I have is very individual. I'm very tailored to each person. And I'm actually very shy, and there's some weird mix of things in there. But I guess I would like to make some social agreements where I don't waste electricity. Why is that shit still plugged in? I turned off the power strip. So anyway, in this case, positive peer pressure is to get up and make mornings fun. That's actually a way you can help out society and the Bosque if you're a participant here, or if you're a participant in your own life. You can set an example of getting up early, and this is one way to use less energy. It's one way to live more in tune with your natural biological rhythms. I mean, we're fucking animals, There's some animals are nocturnal and some of them are day animals. We are day animals. We should be up in the day. I think people who work at night, for example, have probably, I think they've studied this, have really health problems and all kinds of other problems. It ripples out problems for you. Now, that doesn't mean that no one should do it, and maybe some people are even built to do it, and you should do whatever the hell you want. But in general, society should function in the day and be sleeping at night. Society meaning the people part, the wetware. The meat puppets. The meat puppets should go to sleep at night. And there's exceptions to that. Like, for example, here, I want to have rangers all the time. I want somebody to be awake and on security at all times. And I want them on both gates. There should be some people who are awake, but at night. But that's off the point. So what could I do right now? I mean, let's make it real personal here. What could I do to make mornings better? Well, I'm alone, so I don't follow any schedule at all. And this is one of the problems that I have is determining whether we should set times when we do things or whether we don't. And I think it's going to depend on the person's role. A lot of people in their role will be on a set schedule. And some people don't like that idea because they want to be free and do whatever they want, whenever they want. Well, they should go do that somewhere else. Or they should be in a role where they can do that. I'm in a role where I can do that at the moment because I'm one person alone in the forest. I affect 0 other people very much. Although, there's people who like me and support me, and I have an obligation in some way to be a good person for them, to be productive and healthy and produce some ideas or something, whatever it is my job is. I should be doing that. And always a better job at it. So what could I do in my role? That gets into schedule, non-schedule thing. So, yeah. To make mornings better. Well, mornings when there were more people here, that's what I'll target. When there was about 12 people here. I ran breakfast right here. I learned a lot. For example, if people just make their own breakfast as a little group of travelers in a house, they'll never finish breakfast until they have to, and then they'll always be late. I'm late. I was cleaning up after breakfast. Kitchen's probably still a mess. People running their own young people running their own kitchen is a bad idea. They're bad at it. So anyway, so I would have it here. I just have a 2-burner stove, now a 1-burner stove, because No, I still have a 2-burner downstairs. I have a 4-burner downstairs. And we have propane. And so in the morning I provide, cut up veggies and fruits, fresh. I think that's something somebody else other than me can do because I get bored doing that. I provide coffee sometimes if I have it. Basically, if I have money to do it, I provide little bits of coffee, a cup each or something. People can always make their own coffee, and I need to improve my other outdoor kitchen. In fact, this is the thing I can actually do for the future, is I could build publicly accessible stoves and places to heat water. That's until I have a solar hot water heater that people just have hot water on tap. And guess what? I could provide that now. Right now. All I have to do is buy a hot water heater and then set it there and it's hot water on tap. That's all it is. I think that'd be a great thing to provide for people. And that could be provided in a variety of locations, but it should probably be part of a comfort station. Comfort stations are to help people go out further into the forest and not be away from all the comforts that they desire. This is positive peer pressure on my part to design a system that causes a behavior I like. It's an example of positive peer pressure. In fact, we could make a whole bunch of a big list. I think we should. We should make a list of all the positive peer pressure things that we can think of. All the ways in which we create better friends by ourselves being an example and offering something. Like when I host a party, I have ulterior motives. I want to connect people. I want them to have a good time and be comfortable. There's things I don't like about some parties, and there's things I do like about other parties. I have a whole brand party science. And that's also positive peer pressure. It's creating the environments I think I want to exist. There's festival environments that are like that. Like Burning Man is fairly intentional in its goals. Oregon Country Fair is fairly intentional in its goals. There are many other events that have a reason they exist in our culture. Well, we as individuals also exist in our culture and have, I think, obligations and opportunities. Look at the forest out there. To make things better around us. Anyway, what was my example I was doing? Forgot. I just thought of a really great idea. Anybody who ever hangs out with me hears that phrase a lot. I like to play with ideas. It's my favorite thing. So I'm thinking about morning, right? It's, I don't know what time it is now. Might be going on 6 o'clock a.m. The sun will come up over there. But I think that the view needs to open up before the sun is up. And that's in case somebody was awake and they were bored. If there's any time that you would want sun to be open in the dark, well, most of those times are evening times, aren't they? But I think there's a benefit to, in the Bosque, as part of the experiment, to open up a half hour, like be ready and open, which means get out of bed a half hour for that. It's like an early bird job, view host. So what does that put us at? I don't know. What did I do? Civil twilight, sunrise. Let's just go with sunrise. We'll base it on that. Sunrise here is very predictable, unlike sunset, which goes over the trees, and so it's more spotty. But in this exact location, we know we get light at sunrise. We're going to be getting slightly more because I cut down a couple trees. Sort of. I girdled them so they become tree housing. Different topic. So I think that the view host then needs to get things going here at sunrise minus... No, civil twilight is before sunrise. That's when it's light enough out to walk around. And we definitely want to be open by then. And I think we should be open 1/2 hour prior to civil twilight. And therefore the view host needs to get up a half hour before that. And they can have everything prepped before, the night before, but basically they got to get up really early. They got to be really okay with it, like never late. Because that particular role is so critical in starting the day off right. The view host role, right? And so one of the parts of the role is to come up with what are the things you should do. Now I could suggest a bunch of them and I'll write them down. And those things should occur, and a bunch of them are optional. As the view host, you kind of sculpt the morning's vibe. And so that goes on a calendar, usually ahead of time. Well, it goes ahead of time. There's a template calendar. It's a monthly cycling calendar. But you can always change that too. And there's a lot of variables you can tweak. There's a bunch of big decisions about that. One of the things I'd like to do, it's an idea I have, is create a fire. Now, right now is a bad time to have a fire because of the season. It's dangerous, right? However, I am cleaning up some spaces behind this building where there could be a fire. One of the biggest things with fire is don't have one if there's wind, any wind. Have a 5-gallon bucket nearby always, all times of the year. It doesn't matter. Why do you need it when it's the rainy season? I don't know. But if you have fire, then you should have a bucket of water. Anyway, that could be a great draw. If somebody was considering, okay, am I going to lay in my cabana or my tent? I'm awake and I'm just bored. I wish I could go do something. I wish something fun was occurring. Well, that's a great way to give people a destination, and they can chat with each other. They got to fit in with whatever's going on. We also have videoing and not videoing. Maybe we should have a flippable sign that says recording or not. Maybe it could just be like a cue for quiet. I don't like that much because it doesn't work in Spanish. Silencio, I think, would be correct in Spanish. But some kind of just simple square symbol, a painted, brightly colored symbol. In fact, maybe we should make up a whole code system of those, like for photography, no photography. On the other hand, it takes longer to learn those, so maybe we should just go with signs that say things. That's probably better. But I like the idea of flippable signs, so we can change the status of a location. I recently had some trespassers again. That's annoying, and I don't like it. This is not a place for public to just show up. I know who crosses here. I have lots of connections locally with everybody around here. They're all taken care of. All agreements are great. But people from outside who come and try to be here, no is the answer. You can make an application. So I'm going to put up some more no trespassing signs just to make it really clear. I don't have a lot of signs up, but I should just have a few. And the deeper into the property you go on your path in, I think the more signs I should have. I can make them almost like Burma shave signs. I can make them funny too. But the only people who should see those are people who are either invited or they are actually trespassing. And if they get as far as a house, they may not get a good welcome. I'm not a welcoming guy to strangers who just drop in. I don't like it. It's a security issue, and I have responsibility to protect other people when they're here as well. It's just a bad idea, So anybody who wants to come here has got to apply. But back to mornings, back to a more welcoming topic. Jesus. If I saw something like that, I think the guy was a grumpy guy. I'd be afraid of him. You should be. Be polite, and everything would go just fine, Anyway, back to mornings. So the fire idea, I think, is one of the most brilliant to set up. I think that should be done immediately. I have firewood here already. I've got a fire dish. That's one of the issues, is I don't want to burn it on the ground. I want to burn it in a dish. And I have one dish. It's down at the lodge, I believe. And I'm going to have the guys grab that for me and bring it up here. And I got to make a note of that because I'll forget that. And this is just on a video. It's going to be published who knows when. I'll never watch it. Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. I got too much shit to do. That's one of my biggest problems. Is actually my lists of things to do are enormous. Oh, it's getting light out now. What time is it? I don't know. A little bit of pink. A tiny bit of pink. And then, of course, the sunrise is really pretty cool. That is actually one reason to put the fire over there, not at the sunrise, is to have two different spaces. So I actually have competing activities. Because the fire light and what I want to do with the fire kind of ruins the view. It's light pollution. And that's another reason to stick it behind the building, maybe. Because what I want to do is actually have a fire, and then I want to run lights back there at that fire, and have internet, and I want to broadcast fires. So every morning we could have a discussion. I like the idea of morning fires a lot. They are colder. So evening fires I've already talked about and thought about. Those are great, and we'll do those. But I like the idea of trying a morning fire, We'd obviously might have to have more clothes on, like jackets and stuff, because it's chillier. But then again, if you're moving around doing stuff, it's really just not that chilly. When you live in a very mild climate, you start to think, oh, chilly, it's chilly out. it's too chilly to do something. And it's like, no, it's not. If you lived in a different climate, that's like the best it ever gets, you know? Or it's always hot, which is more common. But for cold climates, like where I come from, even there is pretty drizzly, and even there is pretty mild by comparison to here. So basically, I've become a wuss. I think there's a tendency for people who live in mild climates to become climate wusses, you know? And I think that's what I am now. Like, it doesn't snow here. It doesn't freeze. I've seen ice a few times. But, you know, this is an easy climate. So I think that I discount the options for doing things in the morning because I think, oh, people are going to be cold. And it's like, no. If they followed my advice, get out of bed and move your body. That's the main thing. It's not that cold out here. And do some activity or something in the morning, then everything is really cool. So I think the idea of starting some activities super early, like recorded discussions around a fire, as the lighting slowly improves, and then you end your discussion, you know, when it's light. You end it like you actually could time your whole discussion every day, your recorded discussion, around a morning fire. The fire's optional, but it's really cool. And then you start at sunrise, I think. No, you start at civil twilight. No. You start a half an hour before before sunrise every day. You start recording. That's the same time that the view opens up, by the way. And so the view also would need to set up and have running that fire pit. Have it all set to go. I think the fire should already be lit. Although lighting the fire could be part of the show every day. I think that's fine too. Bit hard to film it. I guess you'd use auxiliary lighting. So you use LED lights to just artificially light the scene while you get the fire going. After the fire's going, switch to your warmer lighting that's already placed. Your warmer floodlights for the area, your whatever lighting works best. The ideal lighting for that would be lighting that lit the area so you could walk around. So there can be a light running off the lodge, like a floodlight, and that does use electricity. So need more solar power, you know, to do these kind of things. I don't have a system that can handle it right now, but lights that area, and then I'm unsure. I think we have to use portable lights out by the fire pit itself. So lights on tripods would work the best, I believe. I don't want poles of lights because I don't want to see them across the thing in the shot. So I don't want fixed lights around the actual fire pit. It's tempting to put in some other kind of light, like a strip light around the edge. Possible. Not, I mean, you know, we're not pretending that there's no technology here. That's tempting. I don't know how to integrate a strip light of LEDs into that. It's possible I could hang some lights out there. This is Ambience Pro USB powered lights. They're little, I guess, outdoor LED string of lights. I think there's 10 bulbs, 1.5 watts each, for a total of 15 watts. It's not too bad. And what I like is that they kind of look cosmetically nice. Now, I did see better ones online that have little colored bells and things, and those are possible too. But I'm also very stingy with electricity. And so I don't like lights that block the light coming out of it. The first thing I think when I see some kind of shade, you know, somebody has a light in a really cool shade thing that casts maybe a nice shadow. I do like the shadow part. But what I don't like is that I'm spending electricity on this bulb, this light source, and then I'm immediately blocking a bunch of its product that I need. And I'm in a place where I don't have a lot of light here. You know, I live with very little light, electricity, and light. And so I want all of the electricity I spend to go for producing the maximum amount of light in tiny specific places. Now what I like about these, they're only 1.5 watts each, and they're spread out. And so by definition, they're going to give light from more sources and be kind of aesthetically pleasing. On the camera, they do look like little points of light. And that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Like if someone was behind someone's head or near their head, you know, how the lighting really works. But I think they're so small that they would do pretty well. And also cameras are improving for low light conditions. Also, like I said, I can have other light that subtly is coming in and being the real light. of the scene. And we could even have each camera have its own light, a very potentially like warm white. Warm white. I don't like blue light. Blue light bothers me. I got to, make decisions. I should have both available all times, and then learn like when I like one or the other. But in this case, around a fire, what I'm doing is I want to simulate that all of the light is coming from the fire and these tiny little hanging lights maybe. It's not a bad idea to have the hanging lights because that's an excuse of what is officially light in the scene, when actually we want to add enough in a very balanced way so it's not obvious. It's going to be very tricky. Yeah. I mean, I'm imagining a camera person for each of the people in the fire scene. And there's a little circle down there. It's a set, basically. And how many people am I imagining in there? I don't know. But I would suggest that we pick no more than 3 to 4. Okay? Kind of like you'd have in a video chat, 4 people or something. No more than 3 to 4 people. And then have them make their discussion in such a way that it's fairly easy to broadcast. I think editing later is annoying. I'm against it, actually. So it's going to just run as it runs. In other words, you're going to record the discussion and you upload it. If somebody really says something bad that you don't like or something, maybe we note that, and then we have to do an edit. We should probably have a visual thing, like clapboard. That's why they invented those. Probably is for exactly what I need. Where we could, signal breaks. We'd also break the recording at that point, I believe. I mean, recording, that's one thing I always review. I don't always review all the footage I take. But if I do a cut, then I look at the end of that cut and the beginning of the next cut and the beginning of that cut and see what's going on here? Why was there a cut? Is it a subject cut? Is it an end of something? What's going on? So with the discussion, though, I think we should just broadcast it live. I mean, really, I have internet, right? And I can run cable out there if I have to, which I should do. I should run Ethernet cable out to that fire pit. It's a little far away, but that's okay. And then be able to have direct internet access and stream live. I think that is the way to go. The overall scene should be streamed live. I think we should record with cameras individuals if we want to. So a photographer could be outside the circle focusing on a particular person speaking. And it could be that we could have people pause until the camera gets to it, but then that implies you're planning to edit it later. Maybe the camera just gets what it can get. I think that's a reasonable thing. The overall camera is live streaming. Maybe we have another fixed camera from another angle. I think that's a good idea. A fixed camera from another angle would be great. And I think that it's even okay if that's in the shot for the live one. Who cares? I don't think we need to pretend we don't have any technology around. I know on reality television things, I like it when I see the camera because I'm trying to look at what model they have and what they think works best and how much equipment they have and what is the job of the cameraman? Is it really hard and stuff? I think that probably the camera should be on a tripod. I think that the entire area around it should be made good for tripod or not, because I also visually don't like some of the parts of it. I think one thing we could do is at the road, make a cedar hedge along there next to it so that we can soften that view. We can block that view. I don't know if we have to block the view of the lot, of the view of the building called the view. That's a good question. It's a fairly boring looking building, especially from that angle. It is tempting to paint it something cool. Or just leave it as it is. I don't know. For now, we just clean it up. It's got some junky crap around it. So, peer pressure, things we can do to get people to get out of bed and show up in the morning. That was my topic earlier. I can do breakfast really well. Breakfast also has bread. People like bread. And I think that an outdoor stove here that's just public and running would be really an ideal thing to start out with. I think a wood-fired one is the best idea. They're easy to run. They don't require water. And people could take bread, sliced bread. I have a nifty little bread slicer. and then toast it, and then put things on it. You know, and they might bring their own stuff until I have stuff. I don't have stuff right now to put on toast. Oh, I used to. I used to have jam. I do have jam. Right. So I could have bread and jam. I used to do that. Now, ideally, it would be bread and jam on homemade bread. And that's one of the roles we could have here, actually, is bread baker. It could be part of the... it doesn't have to be part of the lodge host system. And any system regarding the lodge, this isn't totally on morning activities, but all activities... any system that happens at the lodge that doesn't have to be done by the lodge hosts should be done by somebody else. The lodge hosts are going to be overwhelmed no matter what it is. They're running a large building, and there's a lot of services that they have to run that only they can run. So anything done by somebody else would be good. Bread baking is actually a function. There should be 2 bread bakers at all times. There should be the master bread baker and the assistant bread baker. 2 roles. And the goal of the assistant bread baker is to become the master bread baker, and the goal of the master bread baker is to train the assistant bread baker in everything to know about bread. Everything how it works in the Bosque, and some other information if they're interested. But how it works here is the most important thing. I got to have people understand those things. So bread, some people don't eat bread. They don't like gluten. I don't understand that. It's like some weird mutation of people or something. Maybe it's an actual genetic thing for some people. I guess it is. For the others, it's a fad. And maybe gluten's bad for you. I don't know. We did not evolve eating cooked bread, probably. That's fairly advanced behavior. We did grow up eating meat and stuff. But anyway, so we should probably have, though, somebody who's the official bread expert on site. Right now it's me. I'm the only person here. And I'm not really that good a baker. I will encourage baking. I provide spaces for it. I've made bread, of course. I made it when I was a kid with my mom. But I'm just not into it. I just don't give a shit. So that's kind of looking nicer out there. This camera does not do this justice. You can't tell. This is such a subtle effect right now. That's another great thing I want to do every day almost, is do a sunrise review. I think I'll do one right now. One of the things I like to do is review the sunrise. I'm out here on a little porch, but I could be down there at the view. And I can see the sunrise coming up. I don't see the sun yet. I just right now see a little bit of blue and pink. So I would predict, as far as sunrises go, between 0 and 10, and I should publish this online, on site, for people who are here, so they can decide if they want to go to sunrise or not. No, I don't think I should bother with that, because I'm going to have so many other reasons to come up here, other draws, and then the sunrise will just sometimes be awesome. And if I make sunrise videos about really nice sunrises, then people will automatically think that there's always a good sunrise, even though it isn't always a good sunrise. Sometimes it's just boring sunrise. It's still a sunrise. Maybe I should start my scoring at 6. Like right now I give it a 1 if it just came up. You know, on a 0 to 10 scale, it gets a 1 if it comes up at all. Like if day happens, even if you never see the sun itself. Maybe I should make that a 6. Scoring systems are stupid. But that'd be funny. Like it's never lower than a 6. It'd be like in the Olympics or something when they score people. They're like, or like with ice dancing and things like that. Like, what's the difference? They're all really high numbers. Why are they always high numbers? I guess it's because maybe they're trying to do a scale of like, maybe they're comparing it with somebody who does falls off a diving board, who's not professional, who just does a belly flop, or, like a little kid. So maybe that's who they're comparing them with. And so of all the people in the world, those people are all like 9.8 or something, right? I don't know. Anyway, I would predict this is not going to be the best sunrise. If I was going 0 to 10 scale, I'm used to it. I would say it's probably going to be a 4. But it's really hard to tell early on. It's hard to predict, like from the early part of it. But what I do know is there's not a lot of clouds. We have some hazy clouds. We're not going to get, actually there's some up there too. So sometimes you get the sun at the right angle and the whole sky will light up. And it's pretty cool. It's great. The more variety of clouds there are, the more light playing different ways across the sky, that's what gets you a higher score as a sunrise. Just some advice for you in case you're ever a sunrise. Oh, man. Oh, morning. Getting up is great. Getting up in the morning. I tend to say dogmatic things. I say like live in the light. It's just fun to say. You should say it too. It's really fun. I think, this is the best time of day that's lost often. I think when people sleep in, that they're losing out on a huge amount of the best things that are here. I think, if you're not hearing the birds singing in the morning, if you're not feeling that crisp, dry, cold air, which feels nice, it's just invigorating, then you're missing out. And I want to schedule some activities so that people do have a place to go that's comfy and where they can do something positive during that time of the day. And even recording is not a bad idea. I mean, a lot of recording things does involve moving around, activity, altering sets if you need to. Like I am talking now, just, getting excited for the day. I'm very excited for today. This is the best I've felt in years. I got great sleep. And that is another thing to encourage people as far as positive peer pressure. PPP. Acronym's annoying. Whatever. Positive peer pressure. That's an interesting thing for people to think about. Because, we say things like, participants only, or no spectators, or, I like to encourage a lot of participation here, but I really want people to go through a thinking process, a brainstorming process of what is their impact on the space. I just spoke with a person on webcam recently, yesterday, and she wants to come here with a friend, and she's going to help me create a community space. That's her promise, right? That'd be great. I could use some help. Don't want to pay anything, so she's already failed on that, but I told her she can't come if she didn't pay something. Because she says she has all these, rich, powerful investor friends, and she's traveling around the world, and she's setting up these things, and it's like, that's cool, and she's pretty, and her friend's even prettier. But I think that's why they get accepted places. I actually think that. I mean, there's nothing on her very well done website. Great. They both sound great. One of them has a camera, and I like that a lot. I want people to come here and make films, but when I look at her Vimeo account, Vimeo's kind of like YouTube. Her YouTube account has 0 videos. Her Vimeo one has some videos, but they're kind of like artsy videos, and I want to see like journalistic videos. I want to see videos about the world, not, like people walking around slow and blurry on the beach or whatever, or, I mean, they're neat, they're cute little things. I think she was a film student, I'm not sure, but something about her made me think that she was very useful, the friend. But yeah, I want these people to think about what they can do here that benefits the place. And I actually have to up my game a little bit by making better lists of exactly what activities are available where that benefit me. In other words, if they're here and I can record, or they can record, but like one of them does have a good Instagram following. She has like 25,000 people. The other one doesn't even have Instagram, I think. So anyway, I actually was very direct in the webcam thing, and I was like, well, basically, you want me to have you here to tell me what to do. Because like she made a couple suggestions that just don't make any sense for me at all. And so she's already getting this pattern of telling me what to do, and she thinks that's valuable. It's not valuable. And I told her straight up, I said, look, anytime you start a sentence with, have you thought of? The answer 99% of the time is yes, and I thought about it a lot. Where do I live? What do you think I've been doing for 17 years? I'm not a total dumbass, And so I don't actually need people who don't know very much to tell me what to do. And it's not valuable to me. It wastes my time because then I have to describe what my thoughts on that thing. Really what, of course, I should do, and I will do, well, I'm doing, but it takes a long time, is any issue that keeps coming up. I should just make a video and make a Quora answer and embed the video in it and put the text and the content in there so that I can search it, find it again, and then I can just send this person a link to my thoughts on that topic. Example being, like, you can't come here and think that you're going to start a business of making perpetual motion machines. Sorry, find some other sucker dumbass. or build your own place. If you really got that great an idea with perpetual motion, it'll work out for you real quick. There's a whole bunch of other examples of things people offer me to come here to live for free that I want to do. So anyway, some positive peer pressure about helping raise funds for the place, if you want to be part of it, would be great too. I would really appreciate support of you, whoever's watching this, if I'm even still alive or this project exists, to contribute to it. Anyway, that's just a brief plug for me in the form of positive peer pressure. Actually, funding what you want in the world, paying for what you say you want, is actually a brilliant way to make it happen. And I guess a lot of people do that. I don't donate to stuff because I don't have any money at all. I've been losing money forever. One person a long time ago asked me, like, well, when would you bail out? If you have $200,000 left or something. And maybe I should have. Because I am out there on the ocean with, in a life raft, a very green, nice one. And, I got really not a lot of options. So that kind of sucks. And I don't really like people coming here as tourists. And people are very varied, so I can't talk about people. But anyway, let's get back to the topic, which is peer pressure in the morning, I believe, to cause a better morning. I guess I want you to think about what you can do to make everything you do here better, of course. But I'm particularly interested in ideas for morning. I don't want morning to always be the same. I want it to have a monthly rolling schedule, and we can have a bunch of mornings that are similar. For example, playing Creative Commons, open source music, and eating food. That's the default, probably. I think music is, we don't have a lot of it here. We don't have a lot of that. On the other hand, music, any music, even Creative Commons or open source stuff or public domain, would interfere with the ability of people to control their own audio. And if I want people to start videoing right away in the morning, then them controlling their audio is very difficult. We could, if we're not recording something else official, we could play it like from half hour. This is a total possibility. We could play music from a half hour before sunrise before civil twilight, and then kill it at civil twilight. And that's because not as many people will be recording at that time. Now that's only a half hour. So, I have CDs. And I can't even play this. Oh my God, wait, don't play. See, that was Ella Fitzgerald, who sounds great. But if I let her play, and that music goes in the video, then computers and YouTube and stuff will find that music and then give any proceeds from that to the copyright owner of the music. Or they'll turn it off completely. They'll turn off all the audio. They'll do other things. No copyrighted music should ever go into a video camera or recording device in the Bosque Village. One way to avoid that kind of thing happening at all is to never play any copyrighted music. And in general, we don't play amplified music anyway. So that's one thing for participants coming here to understand, is we do not openly play copyrighted music ever. In other words, there's no amplified music that's copyrighted. And then, in fact, it can't even be Creative Commons, because a lot of Creative Commons stuff has rules on how you use it, and you certainly need to credit it to someone in almost all cases. So I think there is a Creative Commons designation where you can completely release it. And so we would only want completely public domain music at all playing. Because if it does get on someone's camera, and then they publish something with it, they should have credited that. And so, even though there's lots of great Creative Commons music out there, it still isn't good enough as far as licensing goes. Now, that's not true in cases where it's a more controlled setting and there's only one camera, and we know exactly what we're producing. That's different. If we did a dance show and we played only Creative Commons dance music, and we had official cameras there, we were officially broadcasting it, either live or not, doesn't matter, but editing would probably be better, then we can actually credit those songs. So, but I really think we should build up a library, ideally, of stuff that's completely with no restrictions. There is, I think, a Creative Commons designation for no restrictions. which would be like public domain. Public domain is what we really want. Stuff that we have no restrictions on whatsoever. And we should have a library of that, both for playing out loud and for putting into videos, so we can edit it in later. I think that's the only way we can go. We just avoid all licensing problems. And we can also then be a location that's an example, again, setting peer pressure to the world, setting an example of a space that operates outside constraints of information control, that information is free, with not even Creative Commons restrictions. That would be really ideal. I get back into the thing of would I be willing to release me as that, and I don't know. That's a very odd thought. But it's going to happen anyway. I'll die. I won't have an estate. There'll be nobody to protect my identity anyway. So maybe I'll just become a public figure in the sense that I just go ahead and give up. I let my image out there. Certainly anyone could make deep fakes of me very easily. There's tons of pictures of me everywhere, and I have lots of video to base it on. So making deep fakes of me would be cake. I think one thing to promote for mornings is to promote actually, like make a list of what are some good videos to make in the morning, like specifically using the nature of the morning. Well, one is a video of the sunrise, and I guess since I live here, I should set that up and have it just be a standard thing. I do have a camera, actually, I could do that with, I think, where I could record the sunrise. One camera I have only does 5 minutes of video. It will do a series of still shots, and I think that's probably okay. I think it's set on automatic. I could check how well it does with the sky, but if it's framed right, it should probably set the exposure correctly. And then set that camera up on a tripod. I don't need to put something over it because it's not dew that's happening right now. Dew happens in the evening as it gets colder, and actually things are drying out. So I don't need a cover over it, I don't believe. I don't need to block the sun because the sun is right in front of it. And I only do it on days when I feel like it or think it's going to be good. I could do it from up here on this porch, which would be ideal, but I got a lot of trees in my way. One tree is going away. I don't like it. It's just not the best sunrise view. There's too many trees in the way. So there's other ones down there that are way better. So in that case, what I would do is take the tripod out, a special tripod that camera probably even stays on, and then I set it out and I just have it record the wide angle view, the widest angle I can of the whole sunrise. And it's fairly high resolution, so that's good. And then I can always zoom in on individual spots if I feel like it, but we'll just capture the whole sky. And the sunrises that are worth capturing are generally larger anyway. If anything, we would be missing out with a camera on the absolute bigness of some of the sunrises. And that affects the sunrise score of like how far away from the sunrise does the effect of the light go. I mean, if there's sunrise way up there because there's clouds over there and then there's ones in the distance and it's just all perfect, I mean, you just get a blazing sky of brilliant colors and subtleties and just, shining beauty. Maybe that's what I can do really to sell the sunrise. It's just its inherent beauty. That's really the best thing. And I think music actually would kind of interfere with that. I have played music before. And I think the View host could even decide this stuff on the fly. Like we'll make a cycling calendar for each day and its theme. But I think it should always be up for quick changes by the View host based on what it is. And they would make those changes based on whether it's windy or not. That affects fire. Based on who's here and the vibe that might be better for them. Stereotypically, younger groups would be more up for a run-around type game thing happening. And that can happen. There's space here for that. I mean, this is like a plaza, and there's other ones nearby. And so getting people up, like, there was a volleyball court over in that direction for a while. And the poster's still there. I got the net, I think. I got the net. Anyway, the ideal is if those things are really easy to put up and take down and have their special box, and you can get like badminton. I like badminton a lot. Badminton is very accessible for children. In fact, children can do better than adults at it because the adults get tired. And I think that I like games that children can win. I think that's great. When I was a kid, I certainly did think that was a great thing. So offering badminton would be brilliant. And I think that would not have to be right near the sunrise. Or it could be. If you can put up and take down the net really easily, that's an advantage. That's an interesting thought. Like, where could I put a badminton net near here? I think between here and Bliss, there's a spot that I'm going to clear out anyway, kind of. And so that is plenty of space for a badminton net. Well, we'll see. I got to walk outside and check some stuff out. By the way, the light bulb I'm using out here on this porch is a new one to me. It is a 300 lumen light. It's the equivalent of 40 watts, and it's So the lighting I've been using as I watch the sunrise here from the porch is an LED light, and it's 40 watt equivalent for incandescent. I don't know if we need to keep remembering that, because people are going to forget about incandescence and compact fluorescence anyway. So we might as well just start thinking about LED lights and how much watts they use. Screw the incandescent idea. It only uses 4.2 watts. That's what matters. 3 watts, 4.2 watts. These tiny little lights are actually extremely useful because they're all you need to be able to navigate in a space. They're actually quite bright. This is a very bright light in my standards. I live in a very dark place, so my standards are different than normal standards. But I believe that the smallest lights we can have that just light where they need to, the better. So I even wonder a lot about street lights. Like, if there's a lot of buildings around, what if more people had smaller lights? I think that's a better way to go. It's also more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion. But whatever. So people, house lights, basically. In this case, I'm inside on a porch. But I think having lots of these is great. I still do like motion sensitive better, because I think as you get the smaller lights, people become tempted. They say, like, well, I'm not using that much light, and so I'll just leave it on. And I think that should be dang near a sin in terms of a society, to take this amazing invention and resource we have, the resources we're using, and waste it so much. So don't leave lights on, I guess, is the short version of that. Street lights are a little tougher case. Like, if I had a building with these portals I've talked about, it's an obvious area where you would want lighting. And should that lighting be provided by the public or not is another question. Or should just everybody put on their building what lights they would like to provide? And so that's an interesting thought. And I guess I need to look at design of, like, lights that can be protected fairly well because they're in a public space, right? And we're not assuming that people are somehow magically better. So, the lights will be damaged if people can damage them. Certainly. So, anyway, I was going to take a walk around. Let's take a walk around, all right? Come with me. All right, let's check out the morning. So the sun is not up yet officially. I just see it peeking over the hills here. It's a red ball. It's that kind of sunrise. We did not get much more cool color action. That was a brief period of pink and blue that was gorgeous and subtle. Now it's fairly empty. So my prediction is so far continuing to be correct. There it is over there through the trees. Terrible camera for sunrises. Really, for sunrises, you could have one person shoot zoom, right, and track the sun itself, like zoom in on it. I think that'd be cool. And then set another camera for really wide angle to get all the sky. And then with those two, maybe something in between. I don't know. The more people who record the sunrise, the better, in my opinion. First of all, if it's a quiet day and there's nobody making noise, then you'll get something with good audio. What's interesting, though, about that is that the sunrise itself doesn't make any noise. And so it's a perfect case where you might as well just swap out the sound. And that's something I could provide, is some recordings from here on various mornings with just the audio, so that you can overlay that onto the sunrise you shot. And it would be ones where the birds were more active, There could be a couple different ones of them, actually. There could even be ones with background noise that was interesting. Maybe some drumming in the background. Who knows? Maybe some witty banter. We could actually have a variety of audio tracks available. I don't have them now. But, and then of course we can always recommend Creative Commons music. But I think one of the first ones that we would want to give people is the sound of here. And that's because I don't want people who are recording a sunrise to have to tell the people doing something else to shut the fuck up. Oh, the moon's over there too, over the trees. God damn, this is really a great spot for sky photography. I mean, I'm not really into sky photography because I already live in a place where there's sky every day and it's really pretty damn nice. So I just don't give a shit about that. But sky photography is popular. The moon, the sun, sunrises, sunsets. Anyway, so there's some clouds above it, which is nice, so it's not so direct. A just absolutely direct sun coming up on you it's the least interesting. Immediately you're in the hot sun. It heats you up real quick. It's not that bad because it's not overhead, but it's just, not as nice. This is really nice. The lighting's really pretty out here. The trees look good. So this is actually a good time to film. Also, it's dead still. There's a breeze. It's very light. It's coming from over there. Huh. I have had the guys work on this place for a bit, cleaning it up. There was garbage laying around. This trail grew over. Firewood was in a stupid spot. Variety of other things. I think the number one thing that can be done to improve the view is actually sitting spots, outdoor metal furniture, and that should happen right away. I've got spots I can put those. I've got spots within some trees over here in a grove, and that's a little bit apart, and people could sit there. They could sit right around here, which would be the inclination of people. And that's one thing I'd like to do, and this gets back into kind of social engineering for having a better morning. When there's 12 or more people here, okay, which is really rare. I used to have 12 sometimes, a lot actually for a while, but that was pretty rare overall in the project. And then I had 65 people here a few times, more than a few times, but me running things, it was only a few times, maybe five, I don't know, I can't remember. But the problem is people tend to congregate under this porch, and that's fine with smaller groups. And I've got another space over there, the doghouse, which can immediately be put into use to be a space under a roof in the morning, which is rarely important because the sun's not too strong. And so morning's actually one of the best times of day to be out and about. You've got all day ahead of you, and you've got a new day, adventures starting and everything. So I want to put some that are further out here, like the chairs, like probably around there. I don't know if that's far enough away because I actually want to get people as far away from the porch as I can to make it so that people can talk and not be talking over each other. I used to have chairs down at the actual view of the lake, and I need to do that again. And I need to improve the trail. The trail's fine, but it can always be improved, and it's the kind of thing where you really want it to be good. The trail down there, and it actually means building stairs as well as a trail, because there's two trails right now. There's the switchback one that it has very low angle to it, low slope. Like, God damn it, there's a piece of green plastic on the ground. Why? Aha! It has teeth marks in it. It's the dogs. The dogs stole someone's, looks like a cap to I don't know what that is. They stole it and they turned it into garbage. Oh shit, I should not walk down here. Yep, there's seeds all through here. There's seeds that are getting into my clothes. So yeah, it needs to be cleaned up and maintained. Right now, people can't get places. I got to put that on the list. This involves digging, cleaning up. I mean, trees are growing into the trail, and many people looking at this wouldn't know there was a trail here. They would just, yeah. But what happens is there's actually a direct route down in addition to a switchback, right? Now, in this case, the switchback has grown over because everybody is setting the desire line. Desire lines are like a design thing you can think about. See, I'm actually the kind of person who wants to use the slope now, the less steep slope. So either way works, but I need both options. And
I definitely have learned a little bit lately about mobility impairment, which is helpful. But this place isn't even set up for me to get around, and I own it. So that sucks. Somebody did walk through here at one point. Might be dogs. Dogs run around a lot. Here I am down at the view of the lake, and I'll show it to you. I'll give you a little tour. That trail's all grown over too. You can't go that way. That trail's grown over. So basically, since I haven't been down here since the accident, so it is developing very nicely. My God, it is a nice view. Wow, it's beautiful. See out there, there's a great view of the lake. And there's an extra reason why this is such a great view, and that is that oftentimes the lake bed is filled with clouds, and so it's a sea of clouds out there. That means that they're in the dark. They don't get to see the sunrise. I'm above it, and so I'm out of the haze also of smoke and things, and I'm just above a lot of atmosphere that happens around human activity at the lake, and also just, atmospheric conditions of cloudiness. So I get better sunrises here than I do in town. That's actually not bad. As far as scoring this particular sunrise, I know I can't show it to you, sorry. This camera just sucks for that. But they have lines, across the sky, waves of clouds. And so we're actually getting some nice kind of gray action in here. So I would have to up the score on this one. It's not a 4. It's a 6. It could still, it's still going. So who knows? I think it's the span of the whole thing. That's another way to score sunrises, is you could time them. Like, how much of the time is it interesting and how much of the time is it not? And what was its total time? Total time being what? From when there's any color in the sky at all, that's when it starts. And then it has periods of interestingness. And then it ends. I think with sunrise videos, it might be useful to put the starting time and the ending time of the video and release the video as actually the sunrise in real time, not sped up. And then make a different version of it with the best parts of it sped up. And you could figure out with a source video, like how much of the time was it interesting. You can kind of score it. Like you could even put in the comments, like, this point to this point segment, like it was more interesting or something, and then figure out how much of it. Well, it's too much work, really. But it doesn't have to be like a perfect score. You just kind of like a perfect scoring system. You just kind of wing it and say it was that. I think that's good enough. It's just an aesthetic judgment, after all. Those could even vary. The point is, we should almost worship the sunrise. I'm a sun worshiper in some sense. All life comes from the sun. Without sun, there is nothing. That's the closest thing to a God we have on earth, other than earth itself, which is also could be personified as a god in some ways. I guess Gaia is an idea of that. But I don't like to get too silly with such things either. I just, pretty pragmatic, like look around and see stuff and do stuff. And accept the world mainly for what it is, because what seems to be is what is. Add in some science thinking in there so you don't be a dumbass. But I am a philosophical materialist, and that does not have to do with consumerism. That's a different thing. If you don't know that, then don't think you do. Philosophy is actually really fun to study. I would recommend everyone study philosophy. I don't know how they couldn't, So there's all these burrs and seeds down here. These are, what's the flower? It's cosmos. Cosmos are really common. They're purple flower around here. They come in a certain part of the year, and you say, "Oh, what a pretty flower! It looks very nice." That's how you talk. And and then, at least I make myself laugh. So the cosmos, unfortunately, turn into a little spiky seed thing that really likes to get in your clothing. And right now, I'm wearing flannel pajamas, which I shouldn't be doing, because one of my pieces of advice is get up in the morning, put on your wake up doing things gear, and then go do stuff. And that's partly because a lot of people are housed in places that they're going to go somewhere else. Well, I'm here alone at the moment. I'm not going anywhere. So I was wearing my pajamas, and that's kind of dumb because now I'm down here and I could get tons of seeds on them. And you can get so many seeds on you, those fucking Cosmo seeds. They'll cover your socks so much that you might just set those socks aside and think to yourself, that is not worth it. I do not have time to get those seeds off there. I am busy right now. Once you make that decision, then you'll probably make the same one for the next year. And you'll be looking at your socks and they'll be sitting there with all these seeds in them. Very annoying. That's why we should have clear trails, by the way. And that's why this really nice morning spot here, where we can encourage each other to do good things, really should be cleared up pretty quick. And I'll do that right away. Not today, but maybe today. You've got some guys coming here at 7:30 to give me a hand with some things. And I'm not sure what to tell them to do. I've got so many things to do. We've got a long list. It's infinite. It's getting better out there. I like it now better because the sun is being diffused by the clouds and separating out a little bit. It's pretty cool. Anyway, this spot I think should be the official spot you would shoot the sunrise from. And I guess I should set up some links for how to shoot the sunrise. And that involves having a tripod. And I would like more people to show up with tripods anyway. I do have to track my tripods when I lend them out. And I believe that anyone serious about video will be traveling with a tripod because while they're traveling, they're documenting things enough, and a tripod is just super useful. I usually don't use a tripod. I'm very handheld. And the truth is, if somebody's good at that, that's cool. But a lot of projects open up as possibilities when you have a tripod. You open yourself up to different ways of filming things, and different ways of performing, different ways of recording other people. Your hand will get less tired. You might be recording a lot during a day. You know, right now I'm hand holding this camera, and you notice I'm pretty good at it. See that? I did not move around in it. It didn't go like this, which is what a bunch of dumbass fucks do and produce useless video. Don't produce useless video. We live in good Lord. I've seen young people make bad video, and I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you the one who was supposed to be growing up in this wonderful technological thing, then you're all smarter than me and shit? No, I'm way smarter than them. It's because just being younger doesn't make you smarter at all. In fact, it makes you really ignorant. And the only thing you have to offer is energy and maybe some good ideas, but watch your ass on that shit because, you know, in terms of the real world, most things can't be done quickly or easily. And I'm a guy who's a total idealist. I want to go out there as far as we can in our thinking about reality and what options we have for sculpting the universe and human behavior and human existence and blah, blah, blah. You know, but pushy young people are annoying as fuck. Like, I know they've got their cool idea and they really arrogantly think that you should do what they say. And I'm not into it, you know? I'm not into it at all. I had a guy here, well, there's too many stories to tell. I've had a lot of experiences with people, but I like young people a lot. I think that they should realize their limitations. I think they should make sure that they're physically useful doing things because it's good for them and you learn a lot. And physical implementation of things is a lot more instructive and useful than sitting around just making up shit. A couple other thoughts just for fun. I'll toss them in this video. I'll do a quick cut here so I can start a new one. So a couple thoughts here at the view. This is the view of the lake. We are watching the sunrise currently in a space that used to be really nice and comfortable, but has grown over with plants. Here's the plan for it. This rhododendron-like thing up here is really neat, and we tried to dump dirt in the branches of it because it's a multi-branched bush, right? And I don't know what to call it. I think it's on the spreadsheet. I'm going to call it a rhododendron, but I think it's not a rhododendron. It's some other whole plant species. It does have seeds, which should all be collected. Those should be collected right now. Like, I don't have a bag on me. I'm totally unprepared for my existence today because I'm just wandering around. It's great. I'm having a great morning. I'm going to go back and make some coffee. I don't know if I need it. I'm pretty energetic. Anyway, it's tempting to get rid of this guy because it blocks some view from right above it. I think we could try and break parts of it off. Like this part is coming into the area where people are, which for now is probably cute. It's fine. I kind of like it. Anyway, I don't want to cut it right away. It's tempting to just cut things down too quickly. Now this thing looks like shit most of the year. It's a native plant and there's tons of it. We can cut that guy down anytime. It's just an annoying spot for it, and there's no shortage of it. All these grasses that grow in here, they look dead at the moment. They're not. They'll come back. Those are an invasive grass, possibly from Spain, and should be all cut out. This is a red hot poker with pretty flowers. On that one, we should leave it. And yeah, leave it. And some people would cut off the dead flowers. I wouldn't. I think they're fine. If they're not hurting anybody, I think dead flowers are part of the showing the life cycle of the plant. And I'm not really into like manicuring gardens so much. I know a lot of people do it, you know, and there's a lot of people who have roses that they care for the roses, like really specifically a lot. And it's like their hobby, and that's cute. I'm not doing it. I'm going to grow stuff that doesn't need me to fucking attend to it all the time. You know, I'm going to grow stuff that wants to grow for me. And that I don't have to do anything, and it looks great. I wish I had more bougainvillea just for aesthetics. I mean, I have not planted for aesthetics that much. And I think it's worth it. I mean, in the case of red hot pokers, they're not useful for much else for us, but they're actually a very long-lasting flower for the hummingbirds and bees. And so they're actually perfect. This whole slope here is an experiment. So this whole slope here is an experiment in digging back into the mesa. And I expect that most of the work we do here will be wasted, which maybe means we shouldn't be doing it here. But the idea was, or is, to find out how we can do that without a bulldozer. This location is not good for a bulldozer. The way I do things is not very bulldozer friendly in this case. This is a sensitive, important hillside. My ultimate goal with this is to dig back into this hillside right here until I get to bedrock. Find out where the bedrock is, if it's there at all. And then build a plaza on top where you can see the sunrise. And have a building right here. It depends on how far we dig down. But have a 2-story building potentially here that has solar hot water heating. And has big east-facing windows right into that sunrise over there. So you can still watch the sunrise from up top. And you would have these warm locations that were fairly expansive to view it down here. So two glass viewing layers of immediate sun, and the sun's going to heat up the building really quickly. Below the building on the slope is evacuated tube solar hot water heaters that are feeding heat into that building. So that's going to end up being a place that heats up the quickest and stays hot during the day. So it's an extra warm spot. And in this climate, there's plenty of times when it's chilly. And shade can be a chilly place. So having a spot like that would be amazingly excellent. I hesitate to build it right now because I don't have the architectural experience and construction experience or the construction team to do it really well. And I could hire some locals to build anything I want, but in a case like that, I would want professionals to be building it. My advice then to the project, to me, to any advisors thinking about the development of this project, my advice is not to do it here now. To make more buildings in other places and get better at that, and develop a team of workers and more relationships with people who can build things. Young, strong, smart, with a contract and orientation videos and information about how we work as a team here, so that we can have an efficient building process, and then we can build small things, and then more of those, get it really down that we build, for example, huts. Right now, of all the things to build in the Bosque, we need huts. Comfort stations is also on the list, but really, you could almost think that a lot of huts will have a comfort station, and that comfort station may be public. It depends on the hut. But the point is that the comfort station would include a small roofed area, the carpinteria. Okay, we'll use that. Carpinteria is the wood shop. That is a concrete block building with potentially useful more building on top of it. We left the rebar there, I think. and then and a large roofed area, quite large. That is the basis for a comfort station. It should have on it solar panels, its own motion-sensitive light in the terraza area with a switch. So you can turn it off or on, maybe from inside the concrete room, probably outside actually. You know, just set it up simple. No one's going to fuck with it. It's motion-sensitive only, and photovoltaic, which means it doesn't go on in the day. There are such bulbs that do both of those two functions. And if not, we can also set up a circuit that is on a photovoltaic switch. So that's no problem, really. We could even set up on a timer if we felt like it. So it's motion sensitive and it's on a timer. So it's not even available for motion sensitiveness all night. Because there may be times you don't want, your lights going off. Water. And inside the concrete thing is big garrafones of water. Big bottles of water. And that's because we want to set out drinkable water, not rainwater, but I drink rainwater, but people don't trust me and they shouldn't. So I give them, commercial water. It's filtered by a guy down in town here, so he's got a great business. I'd love to support him. He's a super nice guy. His name's Jaime. Super funny guy. He runs like mock weddings at the Bajada de Agua and all sorts of stuff. He's hilarious. Comfort station. What else? USB charging. People should always be able to charge their USB devices. And that system should be set up in a way that it's near where people are sitting. So we actually want to run USB charging to a few poles around it, and then have chairs in there so people can sit down. Each comfort station's custom designed, but we can make the template, and then we can have a bunch of stuff that's optional. But I think we should plan for most comfort stations having everything we can. Like, I think it should be a really comfortable spot. The other addition to a comfort station would be a composting toilet, and that would be just around the corner from it or something, but you shouldn't have to walk out in the rain or sun to get to the composting toilet. You may want a private entry for it. That's cool. But figure that shit out, Anyway, there's other ideas for a comfort station. You can look up what I've written about that online. I tend to, when I have these kind of ideas, which I've had the idea of the comfort station for many years, and I have some shitty underbuilt ones. In fact, as far as pragmatic to do things here, improving the current Carpinteria as a comfort station would be brilliant. Comfort stations can also have a double bed in them. That's all. Double's the max, I think. 2 people can sleep on a double bed, or 1. And then somebody could actually be the host of a comfort station. And that would be a pretty advanced comfort station to have its own host. But then that person's goal is to have that place be providing whatever services are provided, all day. A comfort station should also have probably the other thing to add to it would be a grill and a stovetop, wood-fired, in a place where there's no fire risk at all. Built better than the ones I've got. So bigger chimneys would be good. I have these 6-inch tubes, and they should be bigger. Basically, stoves should be much better designed. So essentially, the person who is a, let's say, comfort station host, right? What they provide would depend. I mean, for example, I want to build gatehouses. Well, I wouldn't start with a comfort station exactly, but actually putting a comfort station out near each gate is not that bad of an idea. It's a point of connection with other places, and it would offer people a place to wait, for example, or a variety of purposes for that. And then, so first is fix up the Carpinteria comfort station. That's easily done and can be done now with all the ideas I have right now. It already has electric, so we could provide USB charging immediately. And I would recommend we do that. I would recommend we just run it out on an extension cord. And people actually have their own USB chargers, don't they? I think they do. They should. So maybe I just need to provide electric. And then that switch gets turned on and off so that it's available during part of the day and not. I don't know. Although USB charging doesn't use that much juice. I mean, if I can't provide USB charging, I have a really shitty system. And the truth is, I have a shitty system. Not because it's bad, but just because it's so small that I can't handle anybody else here, really. And then the batteries are almost dead. So basically, I don't have any electricity almost. Worse than before. Not as bad as having no electricity, though. So the comfort station has electricity already. That's a huge advantage. Motion-sensitive lights could be put in there now. The whole system could be put on a timer. So, especially for right now, if I had, let's say I had 12 people here. So not right now. Right now, I don't need to do anything. But if I had 12 people here, I could have people camping in that area. It's a great area to camp. That little grove by Boog Grove, I believe I called it in a different video, can easily have lots of really comfy camping spots. There's lots of pine needles in there. We should essentially terrace the whole thing, like go in there and make as many flat spots as possible. Just do it. And we can connect them together later. But just make everything as flat as you can, because it's a very mild slope, right? Very slight slope. And so terracing it would be really smart. Even like just picking spots along the road, putting a stake there and saying, this is the level that this next terrace is going to be at, all the way across. And then walk it if you can. But you just start digging it, so you dig upslope and downslope. And each terrace, in terms of that concept, should be as wide as possible. The benefit of having wide terraces is that you can do things like put tents in it. You don't have to think as much about trails. Everything becomes easier. And then you pick spots that are connections between the terraces. In this case, though, the slope is so slight. That's nice, the sunrise shining off the lake and stuff. It's very pretty. That's another aspect to consider when scoring sunrises is extras, like shining off the lake. That's an extra. Or lighting up the clouds and fog down at the lake. Or, I don't know. Sometimes it gets different spectrums, too. Sometimes it makes all the trees look really warm, so that the sunrise is actually in the trees as well. The beauty of it. Anyway, so how wide these terraces should be, the wider they are, the more of a lip you'll have where they break. And so you could have terraces with very small lips or bigger ones. The wider the terrace is, the higher the lip will be. Now, are we bothered by that? I would recommend that go with it. I have optimal slopes I like, I guess, and how to deal with them and how to dig terraces. I'm no expert at it, but I should probably formalize some of my thoughts on it. It's my belief in a grove like that, and in most spaces, that humans want things to be flat. We like flat areas. And so anything that can be made flat should probably end up being made flat, especially if we're going to think about water control, where water goes. And and as we dig into a place, we do terrace it, we then expose a lot of dirt that's very tough dirt, and it will eventually become better, but it may be good that it's a spot where things don't grow for a while, because even here, like we dug this out, and Haracina, and actually this plant seeded over there. Oh, that's cool. There's a baby. Didn't even notice that. It will grow over, and that's okay. If you want it to grow over faster, you could toss Caradancina or organic matter on it, and you could also toss fungus in there, and they'll break down the rock matter, and they'll get that on the path to being better soil, if that was your goal, if you like good soil. I would actually recommend in many cases that we dig up, we dig down, we dig a gully there, and if you want plants there, and then bring in other plants. And I have multiple reasons for that. What I'm suggesting here is to dig at this spot that's dug out, right? This was dug out, and then it gets down all this rocky soil stuff. It's really hard to dig in. We could actually dig a gully right here for a couple of reasons. One is it tends to fill up anyway with leaves. Leaves just go over there because they're getting stomped down over here and not over here. And so it actually kind of builds back up into a slope. It's going to reconstruct the slope if we don't do anything. And if we don't want that, which I don't, then we need to think of some other solutions. Digging a ditch in here at the base of this thing is a bunch of work. It's extra work, hard to do. But it would allow us then to choose, well, first of all, it captures water better. So we're going to make sure it acts like a swale. We're going to get water over there so it soaks into the ground instead of flowing downhill. That's part of our agreement of having a terrace is that we actually kind of swale it back, and that ditch in there, because it's going to fill up anyway, we have a couple options. First of all, we should dig it deeper than you think. That should be we can always fill things in, you know, and it's not going to be that deep. Like, I'm talking 30 centimeters, a foot, something like that. And then if you wanted to, you could fill that in with Terra de Encino and really nice dirt, and you could lay a piece of bamboo in it, right? Now, in this case, I wouldn't do it here because I have other plans for this place. But if I was terracing with plants, I think it would be great to then dig that ditch, put in it bamboo, either reproduce it right in place if it's going to work. You can try that. But reproducing bamboo is a little bit iffy. You may have to dig up and take living plants and put them there. But anyway, you make sure it works all along the slope. And then the point is the timber bamboo is so strong that you can pile as it grows. And it's going to take, 8 years for it to even be useful, maybe. Maybe you can speed that up, but it takes a long time. The uphill side of it, you can slowly fill with just debris, branches, crap, biological junk you don't want where it is. Because, if you live in a forest, things grow a lot. Like in this space, this is an example at this sunrise of how shit has just grown up like crazy and not where I want it. And so you end up with biological matter that you move around. You end up with branches, trees fell down, whatever. And so you could dump all that junk on the top of the bamboo. It won't hurt the bamboo. I believe that the bamboo will grow into the slope where it has too much contact. And that bamboo is so strong. And it will block that view of that area for a while. I would let it grow fully, let it grow all the way up. If you want to later, a bamboo is so tough, If you want to later, you could come in, you could take a chainsaw upslope, right? When all that fills in, it's level above it, right? Because that's one of the long-term things is it'll level out above it. It'll automatically terrace over time without digging. That's pretty cool, because terracing's hard. So in this case, we have a little bit of a terrace we've started. We plant below it. That bamboo grows up really tall. We upfill above it, right, until we get a level area. And then once we have that, you could come along with a chainsaw or something. Bamboo's hard to cut, but a saw of some kind, and just cut across it, and you would automatically have a fence, a railing, a living railing. Now, those individual stalks might die, but more would come up. And you can cut those, you can experiment a little bit. But I feel very confident that that's an extremely narrow, very, very strong, living green wall that replaces rock work in the making of a terrace. Have I done that? No. Somebody wants to tell me whether it's a good idea or not, feel free. You're probably wrong, but if you know more than me, then I'm very willing to listen because I don't want to waste my time. So it feels really weird to have this spot, this sunrise spot, where I have a variety of places dug out, into the slope. And we got quite tired doing it. I'm certainly happy about the initial space that we created. And I think it should be expanded. This is, obviously brilliant, important location. I've got here a wood-fired stove. That was the first experiment of that. I continue to be happy that I put it there. It's not a very great stove. It works. But I think it should be operated again. I think all this should be cleared around it. There's too many plants here. And I like that I have an experimental space where I don't care what happens to something. It actually hasn't rusted all that much. It's very exposed to the elements. Like it couldn't be more exposed. Here we started digging in slope here to make a little alcove. And we got tired, And I have to pay people for work like that. I could try having participants do it again. But they really can't do physical work for very long. And so it would be amusing. Any work here is wasted. Okay? Building something good here is not a good idea because I want to dig all this back anyway. I want to dig down as well. So, but it is I guess it's a test spot for digging if you want to learn how to dig. But then again, why have someone dig somewhere where, it's pointless. I don't need a test spot for that. I got other spots to dig out. And really down this way, there's there's an infinite amount of opportunities along this slope that could happen now. Right now, I should be digging in that dirt. The dirt that we get out of there, I almost believe it should be taken up. This is soft dirt here that we cut out and we planted it. That is possible to do that, but I feel like I want to get down to bedrock. And I mean, am I going to dig this dirt up again is my question. Because if I want to go down 2 stories right here, then this dirt is going to have to be moved. On the other hand, it was really easy to do this, and we can always, dig it up later. But I'm also, putting in plants and things, and so the problem with doing it the way I'm doing it, which is digging into slope and then dumping the dirt right there just slightly down slope, the problem with doing it that way is that I'm creating a space that I'm going to have to destroy later, and that might lock me into a way of thinking. So my expediency in the moment is an impediment to my progress in the future. And it's a waste of energy. So it's tempting to pull them all out on wheelbarrows. And then figure out what to do up there with the topography and actually use that dirt for something I want to do. I think that's worth it. I've got spots up on the mesa where I want to create all sorts of microclimates and do all kinds of things. And this dirt, as rocky as it is, I think that's okay. Because I want to make things like, I want to make a desert. And I could mound up rocky soil quite a bit, and then put a little sand in there, and then put cacti in there and succulents, and that would build soil very slowly. Other spots I could make mounds of this really rocky dirt, and I could put on top of it regular dirt. I don't have to do that. It has its own regular dirt. I could put in it terra de encino, and then I could put in mushrooms and rotting wood. The idea being to combine as much microbial activity, bacterial activity, and more importantly, fungus into that soil. Because that will turn it into better dirt. It'll turn dead dirt into very living, mineral-rich, rocky dirt. And I believe one of the things that happens in the production of soil is that fungi break down rocks. Is that true? Well, it's kind of a slow process, so I haven't personally seen it. Could be. I know this. If there's enough biological activity, things occur. And I need microclimates anyway. This dirt is dead as fuck where it is. There's no living dirt here, there's probably stuff in there, yeah. But it's just far down. It's not the kind I want. So, also in here I have a buried bucket, barrel rather. It's a barrel of water with a spigot on it. And that spigot makes water go down there to a bird thing. That should be put back in use. Yeah, I'll continue talking about that in a second, I guess. Well, my hand does get a little tired after a while doing this. That's another reason to have a tripod. That's the main one. Maybe I should think about the monopod. I have a monopod, I believe. And I'm now using a cane, a walking stick. And a monopod could act as a cane and a camera stand. I like that idea. And it would give me a lot more flexibility on angles. For the first time I thought I might want a monopod, because I'm already carrying around a pole. So, I'll look for that. So up here at the view of the lake, I have a barrel. It's buried. See that barrel? And then it's got a spigot on it. It's like a garden hose spigot right there. Now, you notice it's kind of buried into the slope. That's because I didn't want it to look visually obnoxious. I did such a good job, I kind of forget it's there. I mean, you can see the plastic thing on the top a little tiny bit, and then you can see the spigot down here. This would be a barrel that I would want filled all the time, because when you open this spigot, there's a buried hose, and it goes way down there to a dish in the ground, or just laying on the ground. And that is a water feature. The problems are, you can't see the water feature from the place up here, and so it's harder to fill it. You don't know if it's full, you don't know what state it's in, you don't know if it got tipped over, you don't even know if it's there. You just have to have faith that something good's going on down there. That has to be changed. That water feature has to be put on a concrete pedestal that a dog cannot get up onto, a little bit high up, and so you can see it from here. You can see if it's filling. How do we fill the barrel is another question. But right now we've got a system in place that is not functioning that could have birds in a bird bath right near the view. Now, I almost think that we should run the hose a little closer, because I would like to set it up so people can set up their cameras and shoot birds that are at the bird bath. I would like to set up as perfect for photography. It would be backlit right now in the morning, so it's not a good morning spot for photography perhaps. But during the evening, certainly you could shoot evening birds or daytime. The sun goes over there later. So anyway, magically cool bird bath. Filling up the barrel can either be done by coming in here with 5-gallon buckets, which would be a pain in the ass right now since there's plants in the way. We could fill it with a hose from above. Even that, we would want to have a way to run the hose down easier. It's very blocked in here. It's hard to fill, so that has to be improved. You can imagine filling it from a truck with a hose above. It's possible. You can imagine 5-gallon buckets, possible. Bit of work, but I guess it's better to fill it with 5-gallon buckets. This is a 55-gallon drum, right? So that means it would handle 11 buckets in theory. Let's just call it 10. So you got 10 buckets of water in there. That should be enough to fill it like 20 times or something. So you may only have to do this once a month or so, but then where does your water come from? Because there's only a little bit of water at the view. So now you're talking about filling a thing down there and using a vehicle like a tank and then bringing water up here. And maybe that should happen. Maybe like every month we should put on the schedule, or every 2 weeks even, during the dry season, we just always bring water up here. That might be smart. I could also buy a trailer. They have water trailers, right, that move water. I guess that makes sense. Really, I don't like using gasoline to move water around. I don't like having to move water around. It means that something's not designed right. The problem is that, like, during the rainy season, I would have plenty of water at the view, but the rainy season isn't the time when we need water to go places as much for the forest. I mean, this is using water for a, wildlife thing, which is a pricey prospect if we have to carry it. It is not a pricey prospect if we put in things for wildlife below areas where we have water. That's interesting. Oasis number one will be, I think, in the Pretty Garden. It makes total sense. We've got water there, so we can fill it. We will build it around a tinaco, a fairly large tinaco. It's in a high traffic area, and we want to see the birds, we'd like to see them. It's not as great for wildlife, so this would be a close-in one primarily for birds. And I think that's a perfect location. Second oasis might even be also close by. It could be in Lower Alicante. Tricky to figure that out, though, because I'm going to change so much down there. Could be in Mid-Alicante if we can figure out what the level is going to be for the terraces. The idea is to put it in a place where we have easy access to water, overflows of water. It could go anywhere near the view, actually, because I have extra water that I can collect at the view. A little harder, but we could do an oasis built into slope where you're at the level of the oasis and can see across to it. That would be pretty tempting, especially if you ran the water features on one side of the oasis pointing towards the people who are slightly upslope. Why am I saying all this crap? I'll tell you why. Because I want people to be able to view those birds that are in that thing. People love to watch birds. I like it. A guy I know online who's actually been here, he's a friend of mine, he's been bird watching lately. It's new for him. It's not new for me, although he's doing it a different way. Like, he really likes to take pictures of the birds. I think that's great. I don't have the right camera for that, and I don't care. But I think it's great. It's a great way to hunt, And there is some scientific interest in, like, the birds as signals of our environment and what they mean, what their behavior means to us, the sounds they make. So even though birds aren't real, just keep that in mind. I think they're really valuable to study and see, even just for prettiness. Just like hummingbirds and butterflies and all the forms of life that we love. We can encourage that directly here with water, and I want to be able to see the results. And so building into a spot where I don't intend to dig down, right? A specialized spot, and I don't know where that is because I've got all kinds of weird plans for this whole slope here, but this is the slopiest place in the entire Bosque. And it would be very easy to build into slope, make a very hard platform, so only solid dirt, not the soft dirt, put in a 5,000 or 7,000 liter, might as well be 7,000. It has the same round footprint, it's just taller, and we don't care about that much. And so we put that in on the hard ground, and then we do rock work. Well, we can mud it up for now, and we can cob it for the moment if we don't have money for rock work. But the ultimate goal is to rock work all around it, and in that case, leave the extra dirt there, the soft dirt below it, and plant that. It should be made easy to get into because it's built into slope, and so you don't need a ladder or something, and so you can make sure you always maintain access from above. But what you're actually going to do above is also build upslope from that, and on the same plane as well, both, whatever. Build a rock thing, and into that build a whole bunch of little pools and ponds where water can flow down. And the fine tuning of that can happen later. Initially, what you want to do is just get it into pumping up into a pool on top with a solar panel that it can't be seen from this angle. It's on the other side, and it could even jut out. It doesn't matter. No one can see it. But this side only shows you pretty rock work, as natural as possible, or not. Either way, you can make an abstract one. Doesn't matter. We talked about these oasis things before. And you have a solar pump that on some schedule, on some sensor, whatever, have it be so it only goes off during the day, for example. You know? And there's lots of porch lights that turn things on at night. We need the opposite. We need something that turns the circuit on during the day. And really, we don't need that because the solar panel and the pump, if it doesn't damage the pump, the solar panel will only make it pump when there is sun. So basically, you have your water going through it all the time, depending. You could actually set it up so that, well, you want as small a pump as possible. You could always swap the pump out if you set it up right, because you're letting that water evaporate at the same time. Letting that run in the rainy season is no big deal. You got plenty of water, and something's feeding into this big cistern. We need structures that we're filling a cistern with the extra water from some building. We're not moving water to it. That's pretty easy here. I could reroute water from the view. And I think improving the view's use of water is actually one of the biggest wins we can do. That's really wasted water. My tank I have fills up, and then after that, I mean, I could have all I want. Anyway, so digging in the slope, building the rock work on top of it, setting up these pathways among little bird baths, essentially, that the water runs through. It runs all the time, so it doesn't get gunky. It's not a mosquito larvae problem. One issue is, where does that water go? And that's the reason to have the smallest pump you can possibly think of. So, when I first thought of this, I was like, oh yeah, I could have pretty stream running on the oasis and it would look really cool. Yeah, but where can we cycle that water back into the system? Is it clean enough? Will it clog the pump up? That seems difficult. So, but if we don't have it go back into something, then we'll run out of water if it's a fast pump. So it has to be the slowest pump. I mean, we're looking at drops here. I mean, we could have even a pump that during the day only operated and then just sat there and it would just go drop, drop, drop. Now that seems ridiculous. So let's question it. The reason is because I don't want to waste any of the water. I want that tank during the dry season, ideally, to not run out. I want it to be able to provide water for 8 months when it's not raining out. Well, we can look at the mass of a drop. How big is a drop, right? And then we can calculate. We have 7,000 liters. How many drops are in a liter? And then how many are in that tank? And we need something that's slow enough so that it never runs out. And that's pretty straightforward math. I'll think about that. I'll look up how much a drop is. I don't know that. So what is the volume of a drop? I think it's fairly standard for a given liquid. That drips, you know, how drips work and stuff. And how would I ensure that it just dripped at the right rate? I mean, is there a special valve do I need to buy a special valve that just drips? I think I should. So I could have the water get pumped into a thing on solar, and then that container, so I have another container, and then that's actually what drips. That's possible. And as long as that panel kept that tank filled, then it would just drip out of that little container there. How much can it drip in a day? Well, the container has to be bigger than it can in a day, and it could be cloudy days and not fill correctly. So it could be that the container should have enough water for a few days. Maybe it's even a barrel. I think attaching a barrel to even at the same level as the tank, that then the big tank pumps into the barrel drips into the rockwork, and then there's this small amount of water for birds. I mean, even a small amount all the time would really help a lot. If that system doesn't work, if it doesn't pencil out, if we can't do that without moving water around physically, then we may not have enough water for wildlife. I mean, that's the basic deal. Because that's the most conservative use I can think of as far as the delivery system for birds. And it wouldn't be good enough for other animals. Because I also want oasis things for foxes, armadillos, all kinds of other animals around here. There's even coyotes, and deer and all kinds of stuff. And so if I have this goal of providing water, if that's the oasis goal, in many spots for many types of forms of life, life will just go nuts around here. This will be like a wildlife refuge. And I think one of the things I can do to add with that is control the dogs, which involves building courtyards so that dogs have courtyards that they're in. And basically, walling off spaces, which sounds counterintuitive. You would think any wall would be bad for wildlife, but it's not bad if it protects wildlife from people. And I want people here. And so, I have this weird dichotomy where I'm doing things that push in one direction, I'm doing another thing that pushes in another direction, which sounds like it's dumb. But, we have a complex universe, and our impact on it is complex and usually bad. So if the whole idea is an experiment in having people near nature and enhancing it rather than destroying it, then we have to think about all the impacts. And the dogs are actually an anti-wildlife impact, but we also really want them. So we have to try and combine those two goals in a way that has the most positive effect. Anyway, so the oasis is, this whole area would be great for oasis. My concern right here at this exact viewpoint is that I plan to change things so it's a bad place to invest in. Don't put things in spaces you're going to maybe want to develop for later. This gets into the whole retrofitting thing and evolving cities and things and towns. Is they evolve instead of being planned. It's a terrible thing. Even if you think planning is stupid because it can't get it right, maybe you're right. It can't get it right, but it can get things better. There's better and there's worse. And we know enough about that we can do better. And so in this case, I have spots I could put an oasis around here and utilize that. I have to think quite a bit about it. I also have big thoughts about what's a private and public area based on who's here. I am building the space so that it serves a lot of types of people. I'm tempted for water capture to build a space that is a large roof, just a roof, high up on the land. And its main function is actually water capture. It's just having one place where we have full water capture. Every bit of water that comes off of it, and it's a very large roof. And what I was thinking about for that, and this is a very odd thing for me to say because, it's a very different kind of structure than I've talked about before, but it's something like the basketball court in Yotatiro. It's a large metal roof on big posts, and what's under it's another matter. And its only real important goal initially would be rain capture, but of course it should be put in a place where it'll be useful for other things later. So I'll talk about that more in depth. So the sun comes up again. I'm out thinking about rain and roofs and things. High up on the land, I would like to put a Large metal roof structure. It should have a view of the lake if possible, because views are always valuable, and this is an important building. It should have total rain capture, 100% rain capture, and that's the biggest hard thing. What we would do to do that is to put really good, the best, the biggest, the strongest gutters on it possible. It could be that we actually build, I mean, it's going to be probably two sides, right? It's like the basketball court, one in Yotatiro. Hi, Boogie baby. Is me sitting down make you come over here? Boogie likes love. Boogie likes lots of love all the time. He's not pushy, but he'll certainly show up. That dog over there wants love. But we'll come over here while Boogie's here. They don't have a conflict, but they're very polite. They take turns. There goes Coco. Hi, Coco. Are you jealous? You can't get love that way. Everything you do with the dogs trains them to do things. So, okay, we're all done. That's it. All done, Boogie. No paw. He just tried to put his paw on me, which he's done a couple times now, and I appreciate the thought. He wants to get my attention and stuff. But I don't like dogs putting their paws on me, because dogs are dirty beings that love disgusting stuff, and noting that doesn't lessen my enjoyment of them or liking of them. So he's given up and he's going away. That's good. That's actually should be one of the standard things people learn when they come here is about dog training. I think it's a very important thing to improve the relationship of people and dogs, and so that's a thing we could add to the curriculum here. I really like the monks of New Skeet. You can look them up. I like their attitude towards dogs, and most of their philosophy is I agree with. I can't think of one I disagree with. How they raise puppies, and really here we could train people how to relate to dogs. Very rarely I have somebody who's afraid of dogs here, and that always makes me a little sad. And I understand they have their reasons. It's all good. Maybe they got bit. Maybe they think dogs are dirty and disgusting. They are, especially mine. Forest dogs, if they find a dead animal or something, they'll like roll in it. So, and they get skunked sometimes, like by a skunk, sprayed with stinky stuff. Anyway, I think that's a great thing out of the curriculum. We could teach them how to walk a dog on a leash. My dogs are not very good at that because they never get walked on a leash, and that's bad. All dogs should know how to walk on a leash. We could teach them how to make the dog sit. That's a good thing to know. We could teach them what not to do with the dogs. That's really important. Like, don't feed them and stuff. We have a very specific controlled feeding system. They are not pets. They are team members, and you treat them with respect, and you learn how they operate, and then you'll have a good relationship with the dogs here, and the people here will also appreciate that you are treating the dogs the right way. Dogs and people. What else could be on the training thing? I mean, I think, actually, I have a bunch of books on dog training. I should put those all in one place. And people can browse them when they're here. I think I should have the most disciplined trained dogs in the world, especially if I have, as part of the curriculum, to train them. I think that's brilliant. I'm not going to become an expert at fixing fucked up dogs. But, dogs are like people. All of them are kind of fucked up in some way. If they aren't, then they will be when they get older. Dogs develop character just like people. Hey, Coco. Coco. Hi. You want love? Come here. Come on. I have love for Coco. That's not Coco. That's Boogie. Boogie's coming over here. I don't have love for you. I do love you. But no, there's no more love for you. Look, he's sad. Oh, you poor boy. Oh. No, no more. Cabron's coming over. That's Cabron. He's such a weirdo. He doesn't have anything in his mouth, and he wants to nip at things. Like right now, he's having trouble not nipping me. Yep, he just nipped at my sweater. Go pick up something. Here's a stick. Oh, look, there's a stick. He really wants something in his mouth. See, now, this dog, can you sit? He's so excited. He got so excited, he dropped a stick. Now he's running off and playing with Boogie. Ducks smell each other's genitals and butts a lot. I don't think people should probably do that. I think that might be considered intrusive. So with the idea of the big metal roof, it's got multiple problems. Number one, aesthetically, I don't like it. And my response to that is, too bad. You need water and you have to have systems in place to get things done. So suck it up. You're going to want it someday. And that water is going to allow you to do all kinds of things that you couldn't do otherwise. The truth is that it can only capture as much water as falls on that spot. And so it's really only capturing enough water to double the amount of water somewhere else, like could be downslope, right? Like right next to it even, like, or anything off the building. So it's not that much water, even if we captured it all in terms of the big picture. It's not like we can then irrigate a place and it's going to become this amazingly lush park, you know, just by dumping it later during the year. It would have that effect, kind of, but it's less powerful than I might think at first. And I say that just because I don't want to get too ambitious thinking, oh, I'm water rich now. No, it's still going to, even if you stored it all, it would not be enough to do whatever the heck you want. But I could use it, and I think that probably the ideal use of it is to make a big wildlife park below that spot. A place where there was just tons of water, a big oasis. Now, let's imagine it, okay? I could measure the basketball court in Yotatiro, and that tells me for sure what a good sizing of such a thing would be. I can decide on what structures will go around it because I want to utilize the space for maximum benefit. And that's going to become the biggest open protected spot in the entire property. I want to think about the angle of the sun and how it comes in. And I actually probably want to mostly block it. I can use it in a building on that direction maybe, but I don't necessarily want the sun coming directly into that big flat spot because it's such a special space and I want to control lighting. Obviously I want to put in a lighting system. So anyway, we can calculate based on the measurements exactly how much rain we could capture in the rainy season, the whole rainy season. And that then gives us a good estimation of how much storage we need. We want to store it all. And so we don't want to have any being left over. Now, of course, we would use a little bit in that location. And so we're using it during the rainy season. That's fine. For calculation purposes, since the amount of rain varies quite a bit, we have multiple tanks that this gets run into. And the way we do that is by having a big enough storage system right there at the location, built into the building, to store a bunch of rain. You know, days of rain potentially. And we can calculate that too. You know, like how much does it rain on an average day and stuff in the rainy season. Or an above average one. The point of that tank is that it can then feed when it isn't raining, because it doesn't rain all the time, even during the rainy season. But big enough pipes coming out of that then fill other tanks. And so all the time we're filling other tanks down slope, all dug into the slope. And we have as many tanks as we can. Those tanks get buried. They are earthquake proof. If we hide the sun from them, then we can keep them from going bad. So the sun should not hit the top even. These should be highly protected rain tanks. And that gives the supply of water, it becomes immense. And we would have things you could fill that up into a truck from down below. So you could fill up a water container. We could have a place for filling up garrafones at the bottom for people use. That's fine. Mainly, though, I'm not thinking of it as a source for people as much. It would have that effect. But I'm also thinking of it as just as wildlife restoration. How many dripping things could we have going with that amount of water? And this calls into question the whole oasis idea. Is it worth it? Because there's a cost. There's a real cost to storing water. An immense cost, actually. I would call it sunrise over now, by the way. It's no longer colorful and interesting. It's just sun. It's kind of annoying my eyes. It's a gorgeous day out, though. There's a light haze of clouds. And so what's the total amount of water? How many, let's say, 7,000 liter tanks would it take to store all of that water? And then how big is a drip that comes out of it? And even filling things, like how many liters can we every day have? That's the question. How many liters can we deliver in a wildlife restoration oasis system? Because you could have multiple spots in a grove of trees below it, as much density as possible, so that you give lots of habitat for animals, because they need to feel protected in places where they get water, right? And so we want to make it so that we have all these sculpted oaks and native underbrush and other plants, basically hedgerow type density, but bigger, or like multiple hedgerows all over the place. So that animals can feel safe, so that birds have a branch to land on before they go and get some water. We don't want these oases to be all exposed, The one I imagine down here at the View would be kind of exposed. So the spots I could put a big roof to do this massive rain capture for this one purpose, the spots I could do that at are Sanctuario, which doesn't have a big enough flat spot. And if I was going to make one, I'd have to get rid of a spot I really like. There's a grove of trees at the top. And so the only other option is to dig way into the slope. And you'd have to dig really far down, and I'm not sure what's down there. I do want to dig that anyway to find out where bedrock is. I want to, massive digging. But like a bulldozer, I guess they could do it. I mean, who knows? Maybe I have a space up there that is flat now. This could be a smart idea. I see that whole hill as a bank of materials because I have long-term plans to utterly change how it works. One interesting option would be to change the idea. To use a bulldozer, dig down the current flat spot up there, and just keep digging it down. Dig down, dig down. Now, often I don't like that idea because I'm working more sensitive areas, but I've already got a flat spot there, and I know what my long-term plans are. So I think just digging that down as far as the bulldozer can go until it hits bedrock would actually be a smart idea. And this violates a rule I have about I don't want to put the soft dirt down slope because then you're tempted to plant it and all these things. But if we don't plant it and we use it as then loose dirt materials that are available, so we can go in there with wheelbarrows and things and harvest it, we basically have the bulldozer do a bunch of work to break up the rock, the dirt, and then we have an easier time of picking it up with shovels. Now, eventually over time it'll settle down again and stuff will grow on it. But it could be that then, since it's high up on the land, we can go up there with a truck and we can actually shovel rock and dirt into that, mine it, and even make it so you can back up into it and then fill from that, from the stuff. So dig lower roads into it so that you're at the level of the truck and you're not pushing it upwards into the truck. You're going down into the truck. That would make a lot of sense. Anyway, once we end up with a big enough bedrock spot up there, either bedrock or rock. I mean, I really want to hit rock. I know there's rock under there. I wish I could tell it was under the soil, but no matter what, I want to dig it out. Anyway, so then I could put that building I was talking about up there. What I don't like about it, especially in this case, I don't like metal roofs aesthetically. I can accept them. I also don't like that in the rain they make noise. I dislike that quite a bit. If the water was only going to be used for wildlife, then we could be more accepting of it being collected off of a plaza. And I want to have plazas in places that collect water. I kind of think, after it's dug down, I would rather have a series of concrete floors with views, and then a plaza on top, even just an open plaza, and capture that water. One problem is it's going to have more junk in it. It's going to have more leaves. Because I'm imagining a plaza that comes right off the top of Sanctuario, and then I leave Sanctuario Grove at the top. I like that little park thing. I don't want to ruin it. And so that plaza comes straight off that slope and just goes out as far as I can pay for it. And then floors below that, are whatever. I mean, obviously, more architecture and planning needs to go into it than whatever. But I have lots of thoughts about design and plans and how light can work and all that. But that would get me at the highest point on the entire south side of the Barranca. It would get me water in a very central, important location, building something that is multi-purpose, fairly straightforward to build, and it would be a concrete framework, pillars and concrete floors. And then we essentially fill in later how that works out. Now, I have some plans right away and everything. It's fine. But that's in terms of this conversation, the idea is water capture upslope. And that would get me immediate water capture here. And no matter how I figure it out up there, as long as I have enough to store, for the surges, enough, a few days or whatever, I can have pipes coming out of that and move it to other places. We're pretty good at that. And we certainly should become more agile at that. But we never really want to pump water. I think pumping water implies you have bad architecture. And I just don't like it. Pumps break and they annoy the shit out of me. So, yeah, it'd be powerful. Now, we'll talk about one other location for this type of roof. Okay, really, it's a water capturing roof. We can almost forget the idea I had about the basketball court. Although having high roofed places is also handy, that's another factor. High roofed places is another topic. I can imagine monolithic domes serving that purpose somewhat. I don't know, like a 70-foot monolithic dome. I think 70 feet is pretty much the max we would do here. Although I think there's schools and other things, churches and stuff that are bigger than that. So I don't know. When in the past I concluded that a 70-foot dome was about the max I wanted to do, and I may still stick with that. One question is, how big would a monolithic dome have to be to have a basketball court in it? And that's actually another option for this slope up here too, this hill, is to dig it in enough to put in rows of monolithic domes on bedrock, on very solid ground, all of them. It's tempting as we dig these places to actually have the bulldozer push the bedrock, push the rubble, the rocks and dirt, off to the edges and the nooks. Like there's a nook over there. And so, because, we may not harvest that ever. It's a very difficult job. But for the moment, using that to fill in the gullies, essentially, making flat spots bigger. And the gully part, then we know, is soft dirt. We'd mark that right away. Like we need to remember where is soft dirt and where is hard, because it starts to look hard on top, but it's not hard actually. It's still rubble under there, so you can't trust it as much, right? So having a bulldozer push that over to the areas that indent into the hill, there's probably a name for that, and then planting those seems like a bright idea. And then your bedrock spots are for human use as plazas, buildings, whatever, etc. I do like the idea quite a bit. That building up there would have a view, and so yeah, as far as height of ceilings, I don't know. I think that eventually it would be fine to have a building like Yotatiro has. I just prefer not, I guess. The other building that's over there that has a very high roof is the Salon de Eventos. That should be in the architectural tour of Yotatiro. And I'm not kidding, actually. It's a small place, but I think evaluating the architecture of all of Yotatiro would be great. In fact, I should do it now. Although then, publishing pictures of people's houses and stuff, I don't know if I like that. I think maybe just picking a few spots. I certainly don't feel like doing the whole town. Pretty birds over there. I've seen a lot of those guys this year. There's 3 of them. They're red belly, black wings with a kind of a white blob racing stripe or something. I should know the names of those guys. So any other thoughts on roofs and water and stuff? The point is, I guess, the decision is we can collect it off of a plaza type thing. We want to build plaza type things. We get leaves in it. We have a storage tank that it goes into initially, and that we could probably then let things settle out in that. We'd make it easy to clean. Like it could just be a big concrete pool inside of a little shed or somewhere in a building. Anywhere in a building, really. It could be inside a building. No problem. Big pool thing. And then in fact, inside the building would be ideal because you could then easily clean it. It's a processing station, essentially. It could be a big trough where the water comes in one spot, goes across the room to the other spot, and then the water actually, the outgoing pipe is higher up than the incoming pipe. And so then there's always water in this interior pond that you can then even take a bucket and scoop out of it. That'd be really handy, actually. A lot of systems I have, it takes a while to fill up a bucket because I'm using a hose. It'd be great to have it even be open, a really well-sealed building, so that rats and lizards can't get in it. And you could have a metal door on it and then just have that door be open a lot of time because most people won't fuck with it. But big enough so that you can go in with buckets and haul them out. Also have a spigot out of that as well. Perhaps a siphon into something else so you can decide whether or not, or even just a spigot, you can decide whether or not to take water and put it into some other system. And then down below that, you could have other spots where people could just come and pick up water. I think that's a bright idea. That water should be available at that point, at that processing point, for human use as well. But the overflow of it, the main purpose of it, is these automatic wildlife locations to make oases all year long. That is the goal. At the same time, we could also, during the rainy season, have some of our storage be large bird bath areas. So we could direct a lot of that water. Depends on how much we have. We got to measure how much water are we playing with here. But we could have ponds that we also run during the rainy season. The cost of running those is extremely low. We could even do ferro cement ones where we have open air ferro cement ponds that we fill, kind of like Sergio did over at Jenny's place. I don't know how that worked out for them. I haven't been over there in the rainy season for a while, but it seems like it would work out to have a series of ponds that one feeds into the other, and that then all during the rainy season there's larger things for wildlife and birds, and set those up so that lizards can't die in them. Sloped sides, strong enough so they don't crack. Seal them with resin, pine resin, lots of pine resin, and make them thicker than you think you have to. Because when those kind of things crack, it makes me sad. And then plant things around them that are lush, but don't drop a lot of leaves into it. Of course, we'll have to clean them out anyway. And it's more important we get them out there than anything else. But they're really easy to clean out because they're shallow and they're strong. If you can get in there and just kind of sweep it out, you're harvesting, composting leaves. So it's really not a problem in that kind of system because you have no pump. As soon as pumps are involved, you have to keep your water cleaner, and that's another reason to never use a pump. So what I'm proposing here is it would only be used in the rainy season, but that's 4 months out of the year, plus we get occasional storms at other times. Although if we did, we would probably be filling systems that use more careful use. In other words, we would never really fill these later. Now, they will fill up, and then that water won't actually all evaporate until, maybe 2 months after the rains. And so now we've got a 6-month rainy season in the sense that there's water out for animals, right? So that's not too bad. We've gotten half of the year. So we've improved water during the rainy season because right now it mostly just soaks into the ground. Animals don't have a lot of water. Where would be the ideal place to put this? Well, if it's for that reason, if it's for wildlife, then really we're looking at watering the barranca, the ravine. And I like that idea a lot. It's really great. What we would do is set up rain capture somewhere, enough, and then have that feed directly into a series of ponds, and that's all it feeds into. And we just build enough ponds and pools that it fills up in the rainy season. So the capacity of these ponds is only as much as the whole water in the rainy system, and we just keep building ponds until it's all being held. And the barranca is a really interesting system. One way we could do that, it's pretty tough actually. Well, first of all, there's a holding pond. The first pond is to fill up and empty out when it isn't raining at that time. Now, this sounds weird, but basically we're going to buffer the rain. building channels that are big enough to overflow well into the next pool is more difficult. We can do it. It has to handle the maximum amount, and we could figure that out real quick. Here's how we figure that out. This is a way we can hedge our bets and test it, because this kind of system is hard for me to think about. I'm sure somebody else would be able to think about it better if they'd already thought about this before. Okay, so let's imagine we have a roof. It's storing, or it's capturing water. No, it's not capturing. There's water runoff. We calculate how much that is, and then we figure out what's the kind of maximum in a day, and we make a pool that water goes into. When that if it overflows, then we have to have a channel that's as much as the rain at the maximum when it's coming in, and that's something I'm trying to get away from. That's more building of things. We have to put our pools closer together. Could overflow. So here's what we do. We build a initial pond. We have outflow from that, from the base of the pond. We have a big pipe. That connects to a bunch of hoses, I guess. I mean, because, if I have hoses, then I can move that water slower out of that big tank into a whole bunch of other ponds. And those pipes, those hoses should be as big as possible. Like big, thick, black ones would be good. The kind that you can bury. I don't know if I like a buried system very much. I might want something next to it, like with the valves right there. I want to get access to the points of connection. And so I need a utility room below the first pool. And I guess, again, the first pool should be covered. I mean, we want to process that water correctly. So then the point is, I guess we have a lot of outflow options that move water near and far. And we can then just run it by gravity to as many other places as possible. I guess if we were collecting it up on the mesa here, we put in, tanks upslope. Yeah, see, no, I want access to that water right away. I want to see it. Yeah, once we've gotten into that system, then we can drain it to wherever we want. So I don't know. I guess I haven't fully thought of how we disperse water very well. But I do know that I want those oases. And I think the idea of the open cascading pools sounds pretty good to me. And actually, I'll have control of how much I put into the other pools anyway, how much I put in the upper pools. So I can make sure I don't overflow any gutters that exist. So I could just gutter them. Why not? So what would that look like? A series of cascading pools. The water's not going to flow in it. I could have a pump system that makes it flow. That would keep it fresher, actually, and so that is tempting. My concern is that the pools have so much junk in them that they would clog up the pump. It'd be a pump that only operated on solar. And it would presumably, in this particular case, it would be on the lower pool, and it would pump it up to the upper pool with a buried hose, And that way I could actually get more motion in the water. I think that'd be pretty bright. The other interesting thing I think about for this is koi ponds. Wildlife ponds and koi ponds do not mix. I think if it's a koi pond, it would be closer in for people. And that's a very different goal, very different system. It's almost tempting to have there be ponds under a large roof. If you make a big roofed area, like either the basketball court one, monolithic domes, or levels of concrete flooring, which I haven't usually thought of concrete flooring as being that higher roofs, but I guess we could do it. Why not? I mean, I always think of concrete, buildings as having not very high roofs, but there is an abandoned one. Of course, that might not be the best example. Abandoned one in Pottsboro that has very high roofs. And if we use steel beams, actually, and then have poured concrete floors above those, that is an option. So we could have really big open spaces, I guess is what I want. But, getting that rain capture in there still. But anyway, the pools could actually be in the building. In fact, in this case, a great idea. This is a really interesting idea. Would be to put a series of pools as part of the railing in a building like that. And so the sun actually goes into the pools, and you can have parts of it that are covered and stuff. You could have plants in there that don't bother the pools. So plants nearby, because there's going to be extra humidity there, and you have water right there to like water some vines and things. You could even just have it be so that you take buckets out. It's like a fountain, basically, a public fountain. In this case, it would be under the roof, so it's out of the sun most of the day. And you may even want a storage tank above that. So since these are, now we're looking at a human feature, related water feature, you could have enough storage so you can keep that thing full much of the year. So maybe all the year. And then maybe some of them are used for koi ponds and some aren't, because being able to stand there and have a raised koi pond right in front of you, right? So it's at waist level or higher. Imagine like they have at the aquariums where they have the ones where you can reach in and touch stuff. We could easily create things like that if we have enough water. And so during part of the year, we could certainly do it. If we want it to be there all year, we have to have backup systems feeding into it. And so actually, as far as the bucket thing goes, I don't know. I think it may be that it would be better to have a spigot rather than just dip your whole bucket in, because sometimes buckets themselves are dirty. In other words, we're letting containers into our water. And I'm not sure I like that. I do like the speed of taking it out with a bucket. So it could be that we don't allow buckets to come in to the building for that, but that we do have bucket-sized scoops. You can scoop out of the fountain. I mean, this is why they had fountains, right? When the Spanish put stuff in. There's fountains in Aronga that are off on some intersection somewhere, because that's how people got their water. Right now, people get their water with a spigot, and that probably is, keeps the water cleaner, so it's a better source. But we could have in some spot, at least in some locations, a source which you could empty out. You could get it with buckets. Down at the plant prop area, that would actually be really handy, and that's not a bad idea. I think, in fact, that's a brilliant idea. Is that right away we should make a thing that's bigger. It doesn't have to be super big, but is big enough, a basin that we can fill 5-gallon buckets quickly, and so. It would empty, as you fill it up. So I was thinking as small as possible, but the problem is then that it empties really quick. So then you start thinking, well, maybe we need a longer trough thing or a larger thing, but then there's one part of it that you open up, like it's sealed, right? There's one part you open up, and it opens up exactly big enough to easily, comfortably, fill a 5-gallon bucket and haul it somewhere else. That seems like a pretty bright idea, because we do some of our watering with 5-gallon buckets, right? So we're going to be carrying water in 5-gallon buckets for the unknown future. I'm not going to set up a lot of underground watering systems, because I believe they get clogged up. They're plastic, they're junk, and I don't like them. Just not into it. Soaker hoses, not into it. That would be handy. And it's mostly handy when it's not the rainy season. So, I don't know. There's a couple tricky issues there. Water is actually a really complex thing. And I really believe, water and our relationship with water is actually really, really complex. Of course, we can start the conversation in the usual way and say, we have shortages of water, we're using water incorrectly, we're wasting water, etc. Let's skip all that. And let's go right to the pragmatics of how we can use less water in our daily lives by changing a whole bunch of stuff about how we do things. Well, this is a great example right here I have to get very, very pragmatic. This is the back of the view. It's a nice spot. And I have a rotoplas here. So you already see problems, right? I do. I've been looking at it for a while, though. So one thing is that, well, this is a good thing. It's coming off an ondoline roof. Ondoline's a pretty good material. There's PVC gutters collecting it into this rotoplas thing here. This looks like it's a 2,500 liter rotoplas. I think that because it says 2500L. It says it's a antibacterial plastic. Don't know what the hell that means. It has an overflow tube. If it fills up, there's a black overflow tube that I stuck in this tree right here. The problem is that the overflow tube will not be able to handle as much as the water coming in at certain times when it's raining. And it's right at the top, which means that if it was full, that overflow tube would take it down 4 inches up there. I only have 4 inches of extra space, buffer space, before it overflows. Badly designed system. It needs to be set up so that and then it just overflows at the top, by the way. Goes on his concrete roof and then makes the concrete room below it too moist. That concrete room should be totally dry. So, solutions. We use this as a buffer tank, and we put in a lot more other storage as well, basically. So, to say that better, this tank will be empty during the rainy season a lot. And then it will fill up at the end of the rainy season and we'll stop it from emptying. It's handy to have it up there. There's currently a tiny bit of water systems off of it. Actually, there's just a hose that comes out of it. Where's that hose hooked up at? There's a valve at the bottom with a hose. So what we would do is we would open that up, okay? And we would fill other tanks anywhere we can. One tank we might fill would be right in here. It could be that we have a tank that's right here on a concrete stand, up as high as we can put it and still have it fill from that hose. It would fill from that hose anytime that tank up there is full. So the secondary tank would always fill. Always. That's great news. However, that's not going to hold all of the rain that comes off this roof. We'll come back to storage in a second. Let's just jump back to how much we can store. There's a mathematical formula for how much we can capture off a given area of roof based on its vertical footprint, right? It's horizontal, whatever. It's footprint from above, what rain sees. Think like a raindrop. And the problem here, and that's how much storage we need. We need to store that amount of water. We need to store all of the water that comes in 4 months, all of it. That's our calculation. That's a big order. That's a lot of tanks. Right now I store a very small percentage of what I could off this roof. Just another thing while we're at it, this is a PVC gutter. PVC gutters suck and they're stupid. I understand why I did it. It was the cheapest option I had at the time, but it overflows and it twists and bends and it's just a wonky, dumbass material. It's also in the sun and, chemical shit probably goes in the water. In other words, I have all this pure rainwater. Well, if it's being captured out of PVC, it ain't that pure because I'm contaminating it. So I got to get rid of those entirely and go with all metal. I want all the water to go in metal, and I want it to be metal that lasts a long time. That gutter system is absolutely imperative to be excellent. This is a relatively normal building, and that's also a problem. I think that most rain should be captured off concrete roofs with big concrete, sculpted concrete lips that never overflow, that are completely easy to clean from above and can be kept absolutely clean at all times, can be checked daily if needed. But, there should not be any trees above a rain capture roof anyway. Like, there's trees above this too, and there shouldn't be. Like, I should cut this tree down. I like that tree, unfortunately. But, this is just bad design. So it's also bad siting. Because if you're going to capture rainwater, you need to have your building in a site where there are never going to be any trees above it. That's just an absolute rule. It just makes total sense. It keeps your rainwater magically clearer than otherwise. And by capturing off a concrete roof, you can keep that roof clean, and you can use it for human use as well if you wish. There's a lot of choices here. But even if you were to have a concrete roof for human use, you could then put up polycarbonate roofs on it. And you could put up those polycarbonate roofs in a way that they pour into the gutter system. And maybe you are selective about what human use areas you have on the roof, and you can keep the roof clean enough that you can actually capture rainwater for people. All that stuff up there, I mean, this is a wasted roof. It's wasted. There's a whole area up there that could be used for walking, a great view. It'd have an amazing view. Oh my God. So we really have to design buildings for maximizing rooftop use while combined with absolute total rain capture, 100% rain capture on the whole thing, which means a lot of your human areas are going to have a roof above it, which is now you've just moved the problem up, I guess. But, and that roof that the people go under could have your solar hot water heaters, your solar panels, all that shit could be kind of on top of these human use roofs. And then a lot of your area on top could be plaza, like that. But maybe a lot of it people don't go on. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole design issue. And ideally, of course, you design it in a way that you had flexibility on that later. The point is you need real gutters, non-joking gutters, gutters made for big rainstorms, and storage where that goes initially. And then that initial storage, it's like your surge, right? And then that goes into a bunch of other storage systems of all kinds. So this then would become the surge tank, right? Also, this is in the sun, which I don't like. That's another flaw. Sun should never be hitting plastic, even fancy plastic made for it. Why do I see stuff around that the dogs have stolen from me? That is not a normal dog toy. Well, that's disturbing. This is some kind of a black strap used for something very particular, and I don't know what. It could be for my weed whacker, or it could be somebody else's tool, which would be a problem because then, they're missing it. Yeah, I gotta get the dogs under control. I definitely gotta make immediate plans for lots of courtyarded areas. And ultimately, probably here, this sounds so weird to say, because I love the dogs run free, really do. But I think I need more spaces to put dogs under control. And what I'm trying to avoid saying is maybe I have to have a leash law here. I have had people bring their dogs here, and I said, you got to keep your dog on a leash. And that was mainly because I didn't want their dog to get killed by my dogs. It was a little dog. And they didn't do it, of course, because people are fucking assholes. They were actually really nice people. But I really dislike that when I have rules here and people just break them. I got those rules for a reason. They're here to protect me, you, something else. They're here to make things function and work right. I don't make rules for no fucking reason. So anyway, but my own dogs, I have to get under control, which would actually, as I think about the initial thing on that, the cool thing about that is I can do it with cob walls, adobe and cob walls, and those are movable and totally biodegradable. They never produce garbage. That's their primary advantage. Chain link looks ugly. Don't like it. It's expensive. It's a dumb way to do things. Cob walls, on the other hand, are completely flexible. And worst case is that you just destroy it because you don't like where it is. Better cases are that you may reutilize it in some other way. You may decide something else. But like right in here, this area in here, would be a great place to have a controlled area with cob walls that's high enough for a dog not to get out, which is about what? The thing is, they take a lot of labor to build. Most of my dogs could not jump that right there. So what is that? That's chest high. Chest high wall for Brian. People have different chests, I guess. Anyway, back to this water. So no PVC. Switch to metal at this point. The ideal, and again, I'm retrofitting really. I hate that. So it needs to be solved as an architectural problem from the get-go, before the get-go. I don't know what the get-go is. Anyway, it goes in there. That's the surge tank. It goes then out in, I guess, like, does it ever rain so much that one hose coming out of this couldn't empty that in time, that it would overflow? Maybe. I guess I have to figure out how big of a surge tank do I need. What's the sizing on that based on the maximum rain you get in the period of time it takes to empty that out with a hose? I could, of course, have such a tank like this, have more than one hose coming out of it, and that's totally doable. No problem. Siphon won't work because we're intending it to empty out. And so a siphon could do a bunch of it, actually. You know, if it's full, then no, the siphon would go out, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. So anyway, downslope from that, it almost doesn't matter where the tanks go, does it? The lower we go down with where we put the water, the less kinetic potential that has. Raised water is a power source. I don't just mean running a little generator off of it. Somebody's going to suggest running tiny generators off the falling water. Maybe that will make sense, you know, turbines or whatever. In general, those kind of things break, not into it. And it's also just not enough water to care about. That's my opinion. I could, of course, always have tanks where a solar panel always runs it up to a higher tank. Anyway, my point is the lower we put the water, we have lost potential that that water has. So the ideal would be maybe to pick a spot that all of the tanks for this are nearby. And I'm just thinking about this now, but I have a spot over there that's a slope. It's down. It's down far enough that it's below this tank here. I could actually dig that out, probably by hand. It's over here near this cool tree, just past the doghouse. It is down a bit, so I won't be providing water for the mesa from here very well. The mesa should get provided from up there at Sanctuario. And that's another reason to build up at Sanctuario, something that captures water right away, because then I get water in my most valuable area, the mesa. That's tempting. That's actually, yeah. As far as improving, that involves building a building. This one involves just putting in some tanks in a spot. So this I can do easier with less benefit. Those are tough decisions. Anyway, because below this there's not much, and I do have plans for down there, and actually having water right there would speed up my plans for that other project below it. Because anything below stored water has more options, more opportunity to do things. So anyway, I could calculate how many 7,000 liter black tanks would I need to put over there to store all of this water. You can do the math on that. That's a good puzzle. I don't know the dimensions of the building, or if I did, then I could tell you, and you could do the puzzle. So Brian, right there, measure the footprint of the view, or look it up on the spreadsheet. I think I have a spreadsheet of all those, and actually go ahead and take the next step on that as well, and calculate all of the rain cap, and then make a video about it. Make that as a puzzle, right? I just did the intro, and then have me come in and say, okay, here's the thing, here's the formula, calculate it. What'd you get? Pause the video, and then you'll get your answer, or my answer, and it could be wrong. Probably isn't. So let's think of the smallest case, the smallest instance we can think of for a very efficient oasis. Very easy to make with low or no maintenance. Well, here it is. The ideal would be if you had a barrel upslope, and then downslope you would have a thing like I have over at the view. You have a bird bath, and then you fill the barrel, and then I think there's several problems with that. First of all, it's hard to fill the barrel because it just has a tiny opening. The ideal would be something portable, so we can try it out in a spot. A system that we can use to study the amount of electricity needed and everything surrounding how such a thing would work. I'd like the barrel to be easy to fill. That's fairly difficult because the easier it is to fill, the more open it is. Having a large funnel that fit onto the barrel and fit into the thing, like a funnel with a flat base. It's odd to say that, but not funneling in as much because we don't even need pure efficiency at all. But essentially like a bucket, actually this would work, a 5-gallon bucket with a tube in it out the bottom, a PVC thing that is like kind of big, like that big, 2-inch maybe, a 2-inch output, that you place that over the entry of the barrel. And that means you can't put anything else on top of the barrel that's fixed because it's going to take up some space, right? That bucket up there. And you have it such that the outflow is at the side of the barrel, side of the bucket, and you turn it so the bucket is can be on the barrel really well, because the spigots on the barrels are usually on the side. So it has to fit on top of that. And then you may have to use a chair or something, but then you can use 5-gallon buckets to fill the 5-gallon bucket. And the 5-gallon bucket will empty while you're getting the next bucket. And that actually would probably be the fastest way to fill it. So you don't have to stand there with a bucket pouring it into a small thing and also holding it up. So you can just bring the bucket up, dump it in. That bucket's now emptying into the barrel. You go get another one. You do 11 of those to fill it up. How do you know if it's full? Overflow it. Make it so you can overflow it. No big deal. We need to have a solar panel and a pump on the bucket. So in most cases, the bucket will have on the barrel, there has to be a solar fountain and a pump. And that is what I'm going to call a drip pump. It's only going to pump as much as a drip. Now, it needs to be able to pump it from all the way in the bottom of the barrel, because eventually the barrel is going to empty out, right? And so we have 55 gallons to play with. We can measure the size of a drop, and we can see how long that water will last. How long will it come out of there? Tempting to use a plastic bucket because metal one will rust. If we put the barrel on something that raises it up and doesn't store water in it, like, even some bricks would be a good start, then we can keep the bottom from rusting out by being on the ground. So that seems bright. How do we have on the top of it, how do we have a fountain and a solar panel? First of all, a solar panel, the pump is really unusual type of pump. What they mostly sell are bird bath pumps and things that make a little tiny stream. We actually don't want that. We need to find a product or develop one that just pumps a drop at a time. So it's drop, because even drop, that would, how long would it take to use that up? How many drops can we have? At what rate is the question, for ideally for having that water last 8 months. 55 gallons, 8 months dripping. I don't know if we can do that. I believe we would have to have more water stored elsewhere. So that's a tough one. But that would be your simplest one. There's a little bit of odd things about the connection, because it's going to need a tube going into the barrel all the way to the bottom. It's going to need a small, thin, like a fish tank tubing stuff. It can be really small, obviously, because we're not pulling stuff through it that quickly. But some kind of standard tubing. It could be that goes into the side of the barrel, so that we don't have it going over the lip of the barrel, and that way we can fill it with the bucket if we needed to. Now, what I was just describing was something that doesn't need to be filled. It can last all year. If the math on that doesn't work out, then we could refill it. So I'm just thinking of all the options of when and where and how we could move what amount of water, and how we can have this drip delivery. This is just for birds, That's, I think, our first goal. Other wildlife, they need more open watering, and that's a very different thing. It's a very different need, and it uses a lot more water, basically. Birds are the easiest animal to increase our population radically, and also predators will not increase as rapidly as they will, because we're not feeding the predators water. So this could easily become a massive high density area of bird life. Like, we could expand the population by 20 times, or some other made up number. There's something else over there. I think the dog's been fucking with something. That really bothers me. I don't like it. Putting this spot here doesn't have a name. It's a slope that goes down into the ladder, comes off the mesa, kind of on the side of Bad Bend and Nest. But that one flat spot there could be actually really great. I need water storage very badly. The question is, it would be lower down, which is annoying. It's lower than the place I want it the most. But that, I do what I can do. And so I can have water up here as well, certainly. And, if I have to, I can solar pump stuff. That would be one advantage of having a 7,000 liter tank right here, right next to it. Maybe two of them. Why not? That would give me 14,000 liters of water to play with. And to use it, I would have to pump it up for now. For now, I'd have to pump it up into the upper cistern. And I could put another small cistern on top as well. But yeah, that would provide me water systems for specific things. So I think 2 7,000-liter ones there. Over in this area, this area would use the overflow. And the math's real simple on figuring out how much storage I would need. That would give me water at the nest, which is interesting. The nest is a very interesting area. Down below that is the ladder, which I have plans for, but they're kind of big plans. So I don't know. For right now, I wouldn't want to use that water for that. And I hesitate also to use it for agriculture that much right in there. However, this water also could be run over in Alicante if I wanted to. So it's not a bad idea. It's a question of whether it's the best idea or not. But as far as the whole mesa goes, that gets water on the mesa. Pretty much, that's a pretty big roof over there. And so it pretty much gets me all the water I'm going to need for the foreseeable future in a location. And it's lower than I want it. Solar pumping is always a great option. I should become an expert on that. Pumps that only run on solar power and they have an on-off switch are perfect, you know, because then I can pump water up to a higher tank in the same spot maybe, and then that becomes a source of water for other systems. So like you could pull a truck up to it. That'd be ideal. If it's a tank that's high up, you can actually pull a truck up to, and it has a spigot and you can fill something into your truck or a water trailer or whatever. That's not bad. That uses an existing building and brings a lot of water into a place where there's none. I like it. That is a project. Don't know what the name of that spot is still. It's between the nest and the doghouse and the road. So getting a road to it's real easy. You just set aside a road right here, right now. Maybe you make it pull through. I don't know. There's a grove in here, a few trees. I think what we start with in this kind of case is we just clear out all the plants we know we don't like harachina and stuff like that will grow back anyway, and all the invasive grasses. And then we decide what to leave or protect if there's anything worth it. And then we choose the spot for the tanks and then choose the spot for the upper tanks. And I say upper tanks because I don't know how many there's going to be. And having raised water on the mesa is important. And if there's going to be raised tanks, then you might as well put them on a building. On the other hand, if they're really big, and we like them really big, then we have to build a stronger stand for it, which then gets us back to going simpler again, because I can't put a big one on a building, I don't believe. A 7,000 liter thing up in a building doesn't sound right to me. And the truth is, pumping is a solved problem. I don't like pumps. They break. But if it's running on solar, and in that case, we could even put a float on top, have a number of small tanks, and put a float onto one of them and see if it's full. Perhaps the incoming one, the one where it all goes into, and then the other ones could all be connected and go to each other. So that's possible. Yeah, I was going to go see what this black thing on the ground was, because I already found something else. That looks like one of my shoes almost. I thought I had my shoes. Coco likes to steal my shoe. It is very annoying. This is great. These trails got cleared. I have a place I can walk now. That's really great, since one of my favorite things to do is walk around. This is a black shoe. It looks just like the kind of plastic shoes I buy. I have 3 pairs. I've had them for about 15 years or so, most of them. This one's in good shape. I don't know, I'll take it to the house. I don't even know if it's mine. It could be somebody who was just here. Some thoughts for participants on protecting your stuff while you're in the Bosque. I don't want you to lose your stuff. That's inconvenient for me because I want you to have a good time here, and often losing your stuff correlates with a bad time. And I shouldn't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty if it happens. It's a big system, and people got to take care of their stuff. So if they're responsible, then I really almost don't care. But no, I still care. I just don't want it to happen, you know? So here's some tips on how to protect your stuff. First of all, don't leave it anywhere. Duh. Treat it, you wouldn't just leave your stuff laying around in town And this is a big space. It's not all your living room. It's a complex location, and so don't leave your stuff anywhere. I don't have a big theft problem, but you know, if you have enough people in a place, somebody's going to steal stuff. And so the main thing is make it so that those people don't have any targets. So keep track of your stuff, keep your eye on it. You know, there's even people that walk through the land sometimes. And I know somebody left an iPod out on the ground in a spot where people cross the land, and it disappeared because somebody passed by and they were like, oh, on the ground is this iPod thing, I'll just take it. And they did, and that sucked. But that's how it is. So don't, you know, well, first of all, number one thing is everybody who comes here should bring all the stuff that they need. If you need to borrow a pen, you did not come appropriately prepared for this location. So bring all the things that you need, and if everybody else brings all the things they need, then there'll be a lot less problems with theft and things like that. There's also less problems with people borrowing things. People borrow a pen, they don't know how to return the pen, and so that's okay. I mean, I've had people, like one of the donation items I like to get here is pens. And so, you know, it could be merch pens, it could be any cheap pens that you get, because I want there to be pens around. I want to be able to leave them around. But what you can do is help with that by buying like 50 pens for really cheap at a thrift store, as long as they work. And if they're working, they probably are not empty, you know. How'd they end up there? They're garbage to somebody, but they work, so there's something going on. Yeah, so a little off track there. Bring everything you need. That's a great start. And then keep track of your stuff. Don't leave stuff out. You're going to have a day pack anyway. You should have a day pack where your stuff's in it. And that way, you know, you always have everything you need. Oh my God. Oh, I'm getting a little tired here. I'll make some coffee or something. This is a big decision between the view and the doghouse. There's a bunch of oaks, and they're going to present a problem for rain capture. That one will, over there. Rain capture off the view. This one's going to present a problem for rain capture. It's less of a big roof, but ideally every roof would do rain capture, right? I like them in here for aesthetics. They're really a nice grove of oak trees. I very rarely ever cut down oaks, so this is a tough one. I mean, yeah, and they just get bigger. They get enormous. So taking them down later is a pain in the ass. That's something I got to think about as far as the long-term development of this area. Of course, you know, not every roof has to do rain capture, but I really like the idea of saying every roof should do rain capture, because if as a society we did that, we could actually calculate how much of rain capture space is needed per person given a low water use lifestyle. And I think we might find that we could meet all of our needs with rain capture. We cannot probably, we'd have to do the math on it, we can't probably meet all of our needs on rain capture with simply capturing all the rain on all the roofs. We could calculate how much you could collect in total off of a given roof. But people use too much water, especially if we look at agriculture and stuff. If we're going to include that, and we should, all the water we use, it's too much. We can't capture that much, I don't think. I mean, how much roofing will we need for a normal lifestyle, and how much roof capture will we need for a Bosque Village type lifestyle? I think that's the question here. And the answer is that we have to conserve radically, and I was already into that anyway. If we're going to maximize our use out of the water we get. Yeah, I'm looking at that area down there where I'd want to put those cisterns, and I could actually have it be bulldozed. Where would I have it be bulldozed to is another question. This would be flattened right there, right? Area out there. And I think that the problem is I don't like to ruin a lot of trees and stuff. I'm very cautious about how I do things. That bulldozed dirt would presumably go down slope. It would be the easiest thing to do. And nest is what's down slope, right? Well, I like how nest is developing right now as it is. and I know what level I want to dig it out to. So it could go further down the ladder, and that is possible. A few trees would have to die along the way. And so that makes me a little nervous, but it would also expand radically the flattened area of the nest. And that's very, very valuable to me. So I think that might be worth it, to just use that dirt from this spot by the weird tree and have it expand the area of the nest. That means the bulldozer will be driving over an electric cable, and that it might break the electric cable. That's the electric cable from the view, from the lodge to the view, which means that I definitely would want to set the view up with auxiliary solar power immediately. And that's to keep internet running, because we might lose electricity in the building. I mean, I have other plans anyway, but I want that cable in any case there. That's nothing to worry about. You know, what I could do is, I have this structure here. This is the doghouse. And there was some concern about putting a lot of flooring up there on the second level. And what I could do is actually build a tinaco, a stand here, a concrete stand for a tinaco, and then fill that tinaco in the rainy season off of the other one. And it could be even that size. It could be pretty big. That is tempting. Even just to provide like hand washing here. I don't even know what this space is. The doghouse is an excellent space to develop immediately as a comfort station. A location where there's the list of things that comfort stations have. And get rid of some of these fucking plants in here. Like ones that poke you in the head. Yeah, it's one of the most underutilized spaces I have. The other thing to put in here is a fire pit and a bunch of metal chairs. This can have electricity, so I can have lighting on it, and this could be another spot like a set with a fire that we can use instead of the circle out there. This is better also because it has a roof on it, and so we can get shade. That's important for controlling of light, and you know, shooting during the day, you have to be in the shade pretty much, or you know, squinty, or you have sunglasses, so it's difficult. If you are a documentarian in the Bosque, I think more batteries is better, because we're usually working remotely and often away from electricity. So 3 is really the minimum, I believe, number of batteries, because if you go out with 3 batteries, you know, how many hours could you film? I guess that's the question. And you could check that by going out with a card that's empty and seeing how long you can record. And then when the battery dies, swap the card out and then remember which card it was. You should mark all your cards anyway with individual identities. Mark them with a Sharpie or something. And then you can see how many minutes of footage you did. And that gives you a pretty good idea, since most of the time when the camera's on, you're recording. It gives you a pretty good idea of how many hours of footage you can get out of your individual battery. Now, let's say you started with them all charged. Then that tells you how many hours you can shoot in a day without recharging. Now, you do have the idea of swapping them in and out during the day, but that really limits your mobility quite a bit. And so you need enough batteries for a full day of shooting at least. And I would actually argue you need more, because ideally, if you were to stop in a place of electricity, you would be charging another set of batteries so that during the day you can charge. Now, you could charge at night, it's true, but you might want to shoot at night as well sometimes. More importantly, electricity is at a premium here. And if I want 20 people to be charging their batteries, my solar panel system can't even handle that, even though it's a low wattage use thing, charging batteries. It still uses up electricity at night when I don't have a lot. And so the obvious answer to that is build a bigger system, working on it, designing it. There's no funding for that at all. So I'm just scraping by on nothing here. But in the meantime, I would recommend upping your maximum number of batteries you need to more than 3, because you want at least 1 in the charger during the day. So it's at least 4. And then maybe, it all depends. I mean, you could also carry a solar panel around that charges your batteries, but that's a little bit unwieldy. One thing I can do on my end is have a lot more USB charging facilities, and that may work, but a lot of camera battery chargers are 110. They're not 12 volt, and they're not USB. And I don't know what USB is even. But so that's a serious problem. because I don't like to leave outlets just laying around for people to put stuff into. I can have it in spots where I have it controlled and I can trust who's doing it, who's using it for what. But certainly I don't want people to have nighttime access to outlets. That's an interesting thing I hadn't thought of before. So in Bosque Village, I do not want people to have nighttime access to electrical outlets. Odd thing to say, isn't it? Like, why not just give people some electricity? Well, because I don't have a lot. Even during the day, I have limits on what can be done. If people plug in certain types of things, it will blow the system, and that has happened. My system used to blow more often, and I was like, oh, why is it blowing? There must be a short somewhere or some buried cable. It was people. People blow the circuit, and they don't like to admit it afterwards. Like, I know a guy did it. I know exactly who did it. I know where he was, why he was doing that, and stuff. And he used a device that was too big on the wrong type of circuit and blew the whole circuit. So that's happened other times too, because I noticed when I'm alone, the circuit never blows. When I'm with somebody here who's well trained to protect the system doesn't blow. As soon as people that I haven't trained a lot are here, system just randomly blows. So I suspect that more than that one time that there's been other people blowing the system. It's a fragile system. And therefore, I want to build a new system and have it be more able to provide more and protect itself. And still, though, I'll need to control who can plug into it. Because even on the solar power system I'm imagining, I still don't want big devices that waste energy. There's never going to be a time, ever, when I think that something like a curling iron for hair or a hair dryer is a good idea. I believe those are bad objects. I believe that there are no conditions in the world under which we have enough energy for superfluous use. I barely can justify most kitchen machines, and I'm willing to do that. Where we have enough electrical power to run certain kitchen machines that are selected because they have a net positive impact on the culture of the space and our food system. But every single electrical device is suspect, and the initial answer to whether or not you can have it here and plug it into anything is no. That's the initial reaction. Beyond that, I would love to support people in charging lights and cameras and computers and phones and everything else. But conservation remains the goal. It will continue to be the goal. That's how it is, and that's one of the odd rule sets of the Bosque is that a lot of rules are in place to reduce human consumption. That's why we got those rules. Another factor to consider in how many batteries you need is how fast your battery takes to charge. Even so, you gotta realize you probably won't be in a state where you can always charge your batteries. I mean, I did mention carrying around a solar panel. That's inconvenient and easy to lose it, and it just complexifies things too much. So how long does it take to charge them? If you were going to shoot on a certain number of batteries every day, shooting all day, then you would probably want that same number charging, which means you'd want more than one charger, or you'd have to go and swap it out all day, which is hard to remember. So it's almost like you need the number of batteries you need in a day. You need twice that. And then twice that number of chargers as well. So you can leave chargers during the day, charging one set of batteries, making sure they're fully charged. And then every other day you're swapping off batteries. Also, each battery should be individually identified so that you can identify how long different batteries took. This might be a reason to have more than one CF card as well, so that maybe every battery death, every time you run out of battery, you swap out the CF card. And you'd have to have a lot more CF cards then to do that. But that would allow you to check the health of each battery. Maybe you could do that once a year. I don't know. Maybe it would just for a time. Now, I could be kind of wrong about that because the batteries do actually charge faster than they discharge, it looks like. I just put this battery in there and it charged up in a few hours. So sure, you could charge it with one charger, 3 batteries in a day, but you'd have to really remember to change them out and then check and see how long does it really take. Yeah, because carrying around a bunch of chargers would be fairly annoying. And unfortunately, chargers are not standard, which I find colossally dumb. Yeah, that's colossally dumb. And batteries are so non-standard. that's one reason to standardize on a brand and really recommend people all use the same brand, because I could actually have public battery chargers that were available during the day, and it was sitting in certain spots so that you could actually, if you were hanging out in that area, slap your battery in it. Maybe, I don't know how you paint your name on a battery. It might not close very well. It might not slip into something as well if we paint on it. But I mean, ideally, batteries would be easy to individually identify, perhaps with a nail polish or something. So, I don't know.